Hey, Crawlspacers, welcome to a Sunday night edition of the show. I don't think we've ever done a Sunday night show before. Let's introduce the panel. We've got Mike. What's going on, Mike?
Well, Brad, I thought I'd decide to take a crack at cosplaying tonight.
Oh, yeah, it looks great, Mike. What are you going on as a Mike?
No, I'm going as a Peter Parker dressed as a youth pastor. A cool youth pastor.
Okay. Well,
yeah,
that's a common one. Very nice.
Yeah.
And we have Kelly. What's going on, Kelly?
Nothing much. I would have dressed up, but I left my wig at home, and I'm at my parents' because it's Christmas.
Been there.
Anyway.
I'm just kidding. I have not been there.
We need to buy you a wig.
No, I'm quite good. I actually have a Facebook picture of me with a blonde wig on. It was atrocious.
I'm trying to picture you with hair now. It's kind of
there was a period.
Yeah. I know there was reversal. Yeah.
And we have Ashley. What's up, Ashley? Peter number 3 is your name tonight.
Yes, I feel like we should all be Peter 1, Peter 2, Peter 3, Peter 4.
Well,
but
we're
I don't
gonna
know if we have enough time to coordinate that.
We're gonna have eight Peters tonight if we aren't careful. There's a lot of people on this show. Let's keep going. We've got Tyler. Tyler, what's up, man?
Hey, I'm here, and I brought George's favorite character, Moreland.
Oh, Moreland. Oh, man. George is actually, that's his kryptonite, man. And we also have JR. What's up, JR? Oh, my gosh. Surrounded by Norman. I love it.
Oh, well, I just saw these just like laying around or whatever, and I just
since 2002.
I just thought I'd, bring them in, knock the dust off and bring them in. So
very nice. Is that the Norman that has the chair, the one on your
yes,
right?
Yeah. This is the one. This is the one with the chair. Yeah,
the talking chair. I'm like, what kind of action does that figure get? Speaking of someone who has a lot of toys. We have Bruce joining us for the first time tonight on the live stream. Welcome, Bruce.
Thank you. I'm the new guy here. And Mike, I actually was a cool youth pastor about 25 years ago.
Okay.
And I'm here in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, JR. That's Steve Ditko's hometown, so you better be on your best behavior tonight.
And Bruce hosts the Spidey Stash segment on the Crawlspace, and he shows off his incredible collection, which we're actually going to do a part 2 coming up in January. We booked a date, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
And we have, where's your boy, JR? Where's your boy?
I told him that it was another hour away, and then it was like, so he said he's getting assistance right now with his suit. So
somebody's zipping him up. Well, last but not least, and someone who texted me to say, hey, give my intro last, we have Texas's own George Behrman. What's going on, George?
All right, so I've got a cosplay lined up.
All right, my man.
I'm a little nervous. All right, I don't know if you've never done this before, and
No.
Ashley and Kelly can attest to this. You're putting yourself out there, and it can be
for it.
nerve-wracking, especially for someone who hasn't done it for the first time. So,
Okay, we got you.
I've been kind of stealing myself up for this all day long.
Okay.
Hi, Bruce. By the way, it's nice to meet you.
Me too.
And so please, be respectful of my choices and my performance, please.
Okay. Should I full screen you?
Not just yet, okay?
Okay.
All right, I'll be right back. I also have to get assistance with my cosplay as well.
Consuela.
Oh, I think if it is what I think.
Okay. Oh, that was fast. Okay, here we go. What are we doing?
He's got the hat on.
He's got a hat on. What does the hat? Oh, you have a Spider-Man hat. You okay? Put your mic down. Can't hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, it's me, Italian Kevin Feige from the multiverse. Hey! Brad Douglas, it's good to see you, you son of a bitch. Hey! E compare, ci vuoi suonare, chi si suona, un saxofona, e come si suona, un saxofona, un saxofona, tippity-tippity-ta.
All right, Italian Kevin Feige tonight. Yeah, we got him. Very
I look
good.
like that the whole
Bravo.
time now.
Mr.
Lot of
Comic
prep.
says George really
Bravo.
put a lot into that. George is Kevin Feige.
A lot of
This should be
prep
good.
time. A lot of work on
Very
behind the
good.
scenes
All
on
right.
that. Thank you all.
Bravo. I
There
really
you
believed
go.
you.
Thank you.
So Flo, what's going on? Hey everyone, best MCU Spider-Man movie. Mr. Comic says it lived up to the hype. We finally saw a Spider-Man movie that topped Spider-Man 2.
I wouldn't go that
No.
far. I
No.
would not go that far. It is-
No.
it's-
And this
it's
is for
up
the-
there, but not
this is for
that-
the
Yeah.
panelists over, 35? Really curious to see what these old dinosaurs thought, seeing as I was firmly in their camp before. So on the panel, who is a dinosaur? I don't.
Well,
Um,
I would. I'd say that George and obviously Bruce. You know, I mean,
You are older than I am, JR.
You could add some of these panelists up, and they still wouldn't equal you, Jr.
I'm just a little baby, so
How old are you, Tyler?
I'm 27.
Oh, I remember 27.
Can I be a dinosaur just because I want to eat and snatch things?
Oh yeah, feel
See,
free.
Yes.
me too.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm
but
just saying.
you both have to be baby dinosaurs and make cute baby dinosaurs.
With little arms. Yeah.
And let me say, if we're talking about critters that are extinct, all right, JR is like a T-Rex, and I'm maybe like a giant sloth. I'm like the Pleistocene or something, all right?
I feel like there's going to be an even split among the crawl spacers. This was a Christmas miracle. Can we talk spoilers in the comments? Yes. We are going to talk spoilers. We've all seen the movie, and we are going to talk spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, watch this show a little bit later. But we're going to get right into it.
Yeah,
Into
because
the
I
spoilers.
know Venkman said he wanted to be here, but unfortunately he hasn't seen the movie, so he's not going to be here for the live stream.
Oh,
Well, he's
Mr.
here in
Comic
spirit.
says $100 says George will hate it, and the movie will get a D at best. Is what
Hey,
Mr.
I'll take that bet.
Oh, all
I think
right,
George
all
just
right.
made $100.
What's up,
he
Chris?
did actually.
Mary, what's up, Mary? How are you? Iron Man Jr. No more, says Mary. Yeah.
Technically,
Nice Christmas
sure,
gift we got here, says Adam. I'm ready to be spoiled on a Sunday night. Matt, have you seen it? I think you should go see it before you listen to what we
You
say.
definitely probably
Go
should
see it,
go
Matt.
see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Please.
It's definitely one of
You
those
can
things
go
that's
back
good.
and watch this later if you haven't seen it. Trust
Yeah.
me on this. You're
Yeah.
gonna want.
That's
You're
what
gonna
I'm
want to
saying.
go in there as unspoiled as possible.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Gary and the Frozen.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Tyler.
I was just going to say that I went in knowing a fair amount of spoilers already, and there was still some stuff that wasn't spoiled for me, and I
Yeah,
was
same.
so
That is
happy
true.
that I didn't know it.
Yeah, that is true.
Gary and the Frozen. JR is excited. I can tell. How can you tell, Gary and the Frozen? Don't answer that. JR, you know I'm something of a Goblin fan myself. Tim R. Nick says it's nice to see the faces of the ones I've been listening to for years. Well, thank you, Nick. It's really nice of you. We need 2 more people to get the Brady Bunch set up. No, we got the Brady Bunch, don't we? Do we? Tyler, you're Alice in the middle.
No, we need one more person to get the Brady Bunch set up.
Yes.
Yeah,
George,
we do.
JR, where's your boy?
he's saying he's logging into Google now. So
Okay.
Okay.
He sounds older than us. I'm loading into Google's pop.
He got the old man.
Loading into Google's.
Got the
well,
old man.
he's not
cheese.
here. It's a long story, but
Yeah.
I made this appointment thinking that he would have been home by now, but apparently he wanted to be somewhere else for a few more days before he came home.
The
So
whole deal
Yeah.
for me to even
yeah.
see this movie.
yes,
Yes, that was the deal. When was this deal? When
Spencer
was this
going to
deal?
be here?
When
yeah,
was this deal made?
We're trying. We're trying.
Like
'Cause
like back in the summer.
George,
Yeah, this is
had-
like half a year ago.
It
George
was,
has
yeah.
not seen the previous movie. Spencer, JR's son, came on, said, if you go see it, I'll be on a review it with you. And where's the boy? We're going to get him. Okay.
He's trying to get into the Googles.
Oh, speak. And there he is. Spencer,
Hey!
what's up?
Hey.
Spider-Man.
Spencer, does the head separate? Okay, there you go.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we can-
Do the
so
He
we
whole-
had to
hear
have
you.
assistance to get it on, Brad. It may not just, be wanting to take it off now.
No, he just got it on.
Here.
Let him
He
live
just
the
got it
dream.
on.
Yeah,
Let
he's
Let me
got
put
it
him
on
next
like
to
on
his
a camera.
father.
And Brad's like, hey, take that mask. And I'm like, what?
See the boy's face.
It's like asking me to take my hat off right now.
Hey!
Yo,
What's up, Spencer? It's Andrew Garfield's stunt double right there, Spencer Fettinger.
Spencer is going to die from dehydration while we're on this podcast. I can already tell it's probably 1,000 degrees in there.
Mary
Right.
says, nice costume, Spencer. Very good.
Yeah.
And Hornacek calls you Peter 4. Okay, so again, we're going to talk about spoilers. So if you've not seen it, or if you want to get spoiled, feel free. I thought it was hysterical. I had 18 before I even popped on. You guys are anxious to hear our thoughts and reviews on this one.
Mhm.
So I have got
Oh
a
God.
spreadsheet up here
Oh, wow.
with grades. Oh, and Tyler, talk about your story. You weren't going to see this movie. I just took you out, and I thought you were backing out again, but you're here.
No, I never said that. You
My-
just got confused. I was trying to post something.
confusing.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. So anyway, we're going to go through all of our grades. So let's start from the bottom up. Tyler, what would you give it for a grade?
As someone who has hated MCU Spider-Man ever since Homecoming, this is an A- for me.
A- for Tyler. I'm going to keep you guys full screen so you can see it. Bruce, what would you give it for a grade?
I'm giving it an A.
An A. Wow. Mike, what would you give it for a grade?
It started off as a B-,
Mhm.
and then jumped a full letter grade by the end.
A- for you, huh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very good. Spencer, Spider 4, what would you give it?
I'd give it an A-.
A-. Okay. JR. Oh, this ought to be good.
I give it an A- as well.
Holy
Wow.
cow.
Wow.
Holy cow. Kelly, what would you give it for a grade?
Oh.
B plus.
Controversy.
A plus.
Yeah,
Kelly-
That's
B,
fair.
no, B
B
plus.
plus.
Oh, B plus.
Kelly's
That's
the
fair.
Kelly's
That's
the
fair.
JR of the group.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Kelly
No,
is
I think
going
that's
to the
fair.
dark side.
Actually,
Wow.
I can see it.
We reversed
Ashley,
polls.
what would you give it for a grade?
This was an S, like a triple plus.
A
S tier,
triple-
Brad. If you're talking to
A
video
triple
games,
S tier.
yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I literally wrote down S, and then I'm like, wait a minute, that's
Yeah,
not a
S.
grade. Well, it is in grade
Factory.
school.
Like it is.
Satisfactory.
An A plus 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 plus.
Yeah, like
Okay.
highest possible grade.
George, what would your oh, this ought to be good. George,
Like I did for an issue of Amazing Spider-Man. Not well, I say not too long ago, but probably like 8 months ago or so. A plus plus plus.
Wow.
Plus.
Wow.
Wow.
oh,
The biggest
my.
MCU Spidey fan we know.
Holy.
You just want to give a grade higher than mine, George.
Yeah, he does.
It's not a competition.
Okay.
My grade, the last grade, A- out of me. A-. I liked a lot of it. Okay, here are the grades in case you're wondering. George, A plus plus plus. Ashley, A plus plus plus. Kelly
Yes.
with a B plus. Lowest grade of the panel, Kelly.
Yeah,
What's up?
I know. I'm shocked.
I am
to be
literally
fair,
shocked
I can see
myself.
where I can see why.
That's
So-
what
Yes,
that's what I
yeah.
said. That's why I told she's the JR tonight.
Oh my
Yeah,
god. We've got
I
Mike-
was bouncing between B plus and A- for a while.
Mhm.
Holy cow.
Especially in the beginning, especially in the first half
Yeah,
of the film.
first act of the movie. Especially.
Yeah, that was kind of
We'll-
rough, and
we'll
then
go
it got
into
better
it.
as it went
Yeah.
along, though.
Yeah.
JR's got an A-. Spencer's got an A-. Mike's got an A-. Bruce has an A. I have an A-, and Tyler has an A-.
What were you trying to say? What were you trying to say, Kelly?
Oh, I will obviously go into it, but I'll give my reasons on why I couldn't quite give it
No,
an
just leave
A.
it at that. Don't tell anyone. why you give it the lowest grade.
I just want to jump in. Spencer's sister has already seen it twice.
Oh wow.
She saw it at the matinee yesterday, and then went back to an evening show. She gave it a 10 out of 10.
Oh wow.
So,
That's really good.
Of course, she's very biased towards Andrew Garfield. So
I mean,
Yeah.
same.
Yeah,
I
it's
will
cute.
be seeing this again at least one more time this coming week, and probably
wow.
another time between Christmas and New Year.
Yeah, this
Holy
is
If I didn't
this,
have a baby,
I'm,
I'd be trying to go see it as immediately as possible.
yeah, I'm seeing it again with my brother on Wednesday, and that makes this the other than Spider-Verse, this is the only movie Spider-Man movie I'll see twice in theaters.
Nice.
Our big supporter of the show, Vinkman, said he'd love to join us, but he's not been able to see the show, so he'll watch the live stream later. So, Vinkman, I hope you enjoy it. If we're any indication, you're going to love the hell of it, I think. Let's see. We're going to do pros, but I got two things after I saw it. I instantly wanted to know answers to. So, my question to the panel is, who was Uncle Ben in this universe? Who do you guys think Uncle Ben was? Did Peter
that
even
is
know
a-
Uncle Ben?
That is a good
Yeah.
question.
There is.
Hold on.
Yeah,
Go
go
ahead,
ahead,
Kelly.
Hold on.
Go ahead, Kelly.
He does talk about his Uncle Ben, it's one of the reasons why he has these Star Wars Lego characters. And I'm trying to remember what movie, but obviously I did not
It's
write
from
notes down.
It's from Harry Potter, and it's of Voldemort.
Yeah. Well, no.
I thought
was
it
it.
was,
That's a Star Wars.
No,
that's
it's not.
Palpatine.
The Emperor.
What
Palpatine.
Palpatine.
You're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because that's why
Turning
he
your
knows
nerd
all
cred.
these.
Come on.
So
I
that's
know.
why. Okay, so that's why he knows the Star Wars quips in the very, very beginning in Civil War and Homecoming, and that came from his Uncle Ben. The issue is here. So I guess I will drop the first spoiler. Is we're not 100% sure if his Uncle Ben actually died because mixed up in stuff with his spider powers, or was it before he ever got his spider powers?
What I'm envisioning, because he, like, who said it just in chat just a second ago? Hornacek said, he talks about in Far From Home, he had the suitcase, but he didn't really care about the suitcase, was one of my main complaints about the last one, because he lost it, and they're like, yeah, whatever.
Okay, for my in terms of my fan casting, in terms of this, if you really wanted to go really nerd, try to get my nerd cred, you could say that his Uncle Ben was Nicholas Hammond.
I'd be all for it.
So what I think most likely happened, he had an Uncle Ben, but Uncle Ben did not die as a result of him becoming Spider-Man.
Exactly.
That's Aunt May's role now.
Well, no. Technically, I think you can try to say that Amazing Fantasy 15 or something like it still happened. So because in the previous films, Peter was always there right as Uncle Ben died in his arms. And I think I like to think in this case he wasn't there. Like he died while he wasn't there, while he was off doing something
It honestly makes a little bit more sense. It makes me understand the previous two movies a little bit more. If Uncle Ben wasn't tied up with getting shot because of his consequences.
Because the other movies, the whole theme of him has been, he's been learning the lesson of power and responsibility for like 3 movies in a row. And so like he was never
Civil War,
Infinity
6,
War.
And so like and now it sort of makes sense why he never really learned that lesson fully.
And a couple times during the movie he was like, that's not my problem. And I'm like, boy, don't you know that by now?
Well, the thing is, though,
go ahead, JR.
Well, I was about to say, though, the thing is in Civil War, when Tony asked him why he was doing it, I mean, he didn't specifically mention Ben. He said, but if you can do what I do and you don't, and the bad things happen, they happen because of you. So there was an implication that he failed to act in some. So I don't know that I don't know that the events necessarily preclude the existence of an Uncle Ben or Uncle Ben being involved. But I before going, I mean I was about to say we probably don't want to quite go down that road entirely, considering who we're going to talk about and what happened to her later. So.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But go ahead, Ashley.
They said they had Aunt May say something similar to him in this movie, and I think they wanted you to catch that thread and be like,
hold on.
It's
the exact same quote. Finally, it's not paraphrased. That is my biggest pro. I screamed in the theater, and I was the only one the first night that got shushed because I was the only one screaming about it.
I caught that right away.
Because I'm that
also.
nerd.
I caught that right away. That they finally got the responsibility line exactly correct. And then
great
Toby
power,
messed
there
it up
must
later in the
also
movie.
be
they gave the direct.
There must also
great responsibility.
They had some reference to what Peter had told Tony. If you do nothing and it happened and you could have done something. I don't remember it exactly, but I heard something similar come out of like when he was talking to Aunt May. They had a similar type conversation. I think they wanted you to kind of to connect that thread back to what he said to Tony in Civil War. And I think the idea is that was a belief instilled in him by Aunt May, not necessarily from Uncle Ben, like we're so used to in the Spider-Man lore.
Does anyone not like the Aunt May flip? I mean, we've seen Uncle Ben die, and we've kind of heard the second in the Andrew Garfield. He kind of got a quote out of Martin Sheen, but I personally like the flip.
I love it.
It was needed. It was.
It makes
100%
sense in the
needed.
context of this particular universe that they set up in here, especially.
And it teaches him, the responsibility, and with that, the one that really hammers that home is if someone dies.
Spider-Man is built on loss.
And look, Aunt May is one of the most important characters and enduring characters in Spider-Man's cast, and so this finally gives her own legacy, and I thought that was a really good way to respect and honor the character.
Yeah, I agree.
That plus when she went out, I mean, you got to respect the way Aunt May went out. She went out like a boss, fighting
Against
Norman
Norman.
alongside Peter, defending her son.
Yeah.
I mean, that was that blew me away. And
She pulled that bar.
Huh?
You what?
She just had like a wrench or something.
Yeah, she pulled a wrench.
Yeah.
She was ready to get him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was like a bar. Thing.
Yeah, and
bar.
I loved that. But then as soon as the glider hit her, you just knew. You know the way like you know about a good melon.
Well,
and
I'm sure I'm sure we're going to talk about some more, but I like the way that they kind of handle it, like because it wasn't like she was dead and gone immediately. It's like she's standing up and everything like this and telling him stuff, and she says, "Oh, I think I better sit down. I'm a little tired."
You
and
see her
everything
start
like this.
shaking.
And it just gradually happened, like all the
And she doesn't want to let know Peter how bad it is, and it's really.
And I think she didn't even know herself how bad.
No,
it was.
I don't think she did initially.
Yeah.
No, that's why I think it was good about it is because the fact that you didn't. It's because it was just gradually. It wasn't just like sudden. It was just a gradual thing, like a gradual loss.
And then she's laying there dead, and then that single tear comes from her dead
Oh,
eye.
I know.
Like, oh God! Oh no! What?
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Spencer, we haven't heard from you. What'd you think? Who was Uncle Ben in this universe? What do you think?
Like all you guys said, like I largely think that like the origin that we all know still happened, but possibly like tweaked very minorly, so we could get to the point where Aunt May has to be the one to tell him.
Right. And after seeing Loki and all the variants that are out there, this just made me think, well, this is another Spider-Man variant.
Yep.
Even Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is not totally true to the comics because he's got the organic web shooters. Mary Jane's up on the bridge, not Gwen Stacy. I mean, it's just another variant, and it kind of makes sense a little bit more to us longtime geeks like myself.
It also sort of makes me more comfortable with the idea of the differences in the MCU, like retroactively.
Yep.
It's a good thing the TVA got destroyed before all this went down. They'd have the whole damn company out there.
But the themes of the Great Responsibility finally got to this variant of Spider-Man, which was nice.
Took a while.
It took 6 movies, but it got to the
longest
kid.
origin story ever.
The way I did the paraphrase it on the Discord chat is like I basically to quote Morgan Freeman from the Shawshank Redemption.
Or Electric Company.
Yeah, or Electric. we Spider-Man fans suffered through 5 years of crap and came out clean on the other side.
Well, there you go. There you go.
You know what I think? Someone I don't know who brought up. It's like, the longest origin story ever. I remember so many people I knew who weren't Spider-Man fans, but were like MCU fans. They talked about how much they loved Homecoming because of how different it was. It's like, this isn't like, just the same rehashed origin story. Yeah. But like they kind of did trick us. This whole trilogy has been Tom Holland, Peter Parker's origin story.
I'll give you
So
that.
I think that's just, I don't entirely believe that it was engineered from the beginning to be that way.
No, it wasn't.
It was intentionally left vague so that they could play with it later. And, but I just think that it was very clever of them, the way they set everything up.
So let's go around the horn for pros and cons. Bruce, I'm going to start with you. What's your pro?
I'm only allowed to have one pro, a main pro?
Yeah, you can have a couple. It's fine.
Okay.
Everybody gets 2 pros, and I'm going to go around the horn. I'll start with you, Bruce, in the bottom row.
Okay. One of the scenes that really got to me emotionally, other than, of course, Aunt May, was the very last scene when he makes his own costume, and it looks like the comic book version, and he's off on an adventure when it looks exactly like the Spider-Man that we know and love. So,
did you get an Amazing 300 vibe with him swinging through the snow?
Yeah, I think so, a little bit too.
I did.
And some of the other, like, when you folks go back to see it a second or third time, or maybe you look on the internet and see some screen caps, but I saw some things that for like an instant here and there, like when Electro powers up in the last battle, he actually has the starfish-shaped mask for a split second. The people coming through the cosmos there, you could see some of the villains.
I missed that. Who was up in the cosmos? I heard a
Rhino.
I saw Craven,
Rhino,
Scorpion.
Rhino.
Because I didn't quite make out who the silhouettes were there.
Yeah,
I mean, I was kind of thinking one of them. I thought one of them maybe had a spear or something like that. But
maybe Craven.
With the spear.
Yeah.
And someone saw maybe Black Cat or some other
I heard that,
character as well. But So I'm looking forward to seeing those, slow down and finalize there. And of course, we saw it in the trailer, but the Ditko graffiti up on the top of the high school roof in the background, seeing the word Ditko right there was kind of cool.
There was some Gil Kane graffiti too. I thought I saw
a little bit,
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Let's see. Let's go around the horn. George, some pros.
Well, I had a ton of pros.
Nice.
But I guess I'll start off with my first pro.
Yeah.
Is just it's kind of a two-part kind of a thing. Like when they first have that initial meeting, with all the with Toby Spider, with Andrew Spider, and Tom Spider.
Yeah.
As I've taken to calling them, and they all start talking. You really get that not only because loss is always a part of Peter Parker's story, is a part of Spider-Man, but there's not just that. There's actual trauma in these guys' lives. Yep. And to the point where like the three of them coming together is this giant support group for one another.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I like that, but the trauma came through really hard, like in an emotional way for me when Andrew Spider saved MJ.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And he saves her and he lands and he's just grief stricken still, even though he saved her, because he could save her, but he couldn't save his Gwen Stacy.
Oh yeah.
And but I mean he's literally like falling apart to the point where MJ, who just got saved by him, is like, "Are you okay?" And that actually made me tear up a little bit, because I was.
Even in the part where they're talking to Tom earlier, like you mentioned, I like that Andrew starts like, I stopped pulling my punches and I got bitter. Like that. That's great.
And so you kind of got the sense too. It's like with him being Andrew Garfield Spidey, so it's being like the joking kind of quirky and stuff. You can kind of tell like, oh, so you're definitely using that humor thing to try to mask like this darkness that you've kind of developed thing. And it kind of reminded me a little bit of when you go back to the actual comics from the night Gwen Stacy died, how Spider-Man in subsequent issues afterwards was also kind of like really anger and bitter and everything, going down that sort of darker path too. So I kind of like, that part there, like Garfield tapping into that a little bit was very good.
Well, it was great, because it was like, you hear Andrew talk about that, and then Garfield, or not Garfield, but then Toby Spider sees, Tom Spider about to murder Norman.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that whole scene where like he's stopping, Tom Spider from like killing Norman. Oh my God, that was so impactful.
Yeah, the look on Toby's face. Oh yeah. Go Ashley.
That he had told Ed how he had to watch his best friend Harry die in his arms and everything. And I just had to wonder how many times did he think to himself, if I had tried to save Norman and not let him die, would my best friend still be here? And to see him step in at that, just like, so many good connecting threads.
Which is funny, of course, by the way, considering who Ned ends up being in the comics. Sort of
winds up being that's
mistaken identity for the Hobgoblin.
Very loose.
What, Kelly?
It's a variant.
All I was going to say is that when I took my nephew to see the movie yesterday, he very loudly screamed "Genki," because he had forgotten that Ned is Ned.
Yeah.
He looks like Donkey. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, someone said, Tim R said, "Do you think Toby was going to die when he got stabbed?" I thought Toby was a goner.
Oh, yeah.
When I saw this, right, in the theater where I saw it, which by the way was packed.
Same.
With people. There was a woman on the other side of the theater. As soon as that happens, you hear the and Toby's like, "Arr!" There's a woman on the other side of the theater that screamed bloody murder, like, "No!" Like she just watched her kid get hit by a bus. And I was like, "Oh my God, someone check on that lady."
That's Thursday nights in Atlanta on Marvel movies. Like it's almost so loud you can't hear anything. That's why I wanted to go. I paid myself for my dad, my brother, and my nephew to come with me yesterday, just so that way we could all watch it again, so I could hear. Because you can't. Their reaction, I couldn't hear anything on Thursday night just from how loud everybody was from excitement. They were excited.
Yeah. So George, you got a couple more pros. He said Andrew saves MJ. First meeting with the three Spider-Men.
I want to speak real quick about whoever it was that mentioned the apartment. Because for me, the ending was like I was so overwhelmed. Number one, you guys know me. I hate these different asinine suits. the Civil War suit. You know,
Yeah.
I have typically not liked Spider-Man movie costumes except for like the first Raimi movie, right? And so here, you know, number one, we got rid of the taint of Tony Stark.
He doesn't even remember the kid.
We didn't just get rid of it. We took it in the back and shot it in the head with this film. You know what I mean? I mean, so there's no more Stark tech, no more Stark toys, little robots, all that crap, right?
Yeah.
There's just one Spider-Man, a crappy apartment that looked a lot like the Spider-Man 2 apartment, and a police scanner and the classic suit. I howled.
Don't
when he
forget,
jumped out of there in that classic suit.
Classic suit that he made with a sewing machine.
That he made with his own damn hands in a sewing machine.
It actually looked like it was made by a sewing machine, not
and
he's professionals.
And he's out over the snow, and of course I'm thinking of that 2-part, you know, Stegron story with the meat ray, you know, because that was at Christmas, and I'm thinking at any moment Stegron is going to just jump out and just smack that tail on him, knock his fool ass out of the air. Of course, that didn't happen. But oh my God, that was such a huge moment for me.
Yeah.
Remember like how we felt when like Spencer started writing? We were like there's a list, and he was like, okay, yep.
You got it.
It felt like this. I could not believe. And I talked to our good friend Donovan Morgan Grant about this last night at midnight. I told him I cannot believe the same people that made these first 2 films made this. How crazy is that? Because the first 2 movies are ass.
I mean, George, I completely agree with you. Like this was that scene was my biggest pro of the movie.
Oh,
I was not expecting that whatsoever, and so like I hadn't had spoiled or anything. Under my breath, like when I saw as soon as I saw the sewing machine with the material, I'm like,
oh, I know,
no,
and then like, hops out the window, and you see the classic suit. I'm like, oh my God!
Did anybody, you know, they had in the foreground that coffee cup that says "We're happy to serve you" or something.
Yeah.
And there's like 3 little coffee cups on the cup.
Yeah.
Am I looking too far into that? Is that like the Spider-Men are happy to serve you? There's 3 of them.
Well,
no, okay, I looked that up because someone made a big point.
Go ahead, Ashley.
Yeah.
Someone made a big point, like, oh my God, they use that same coffee cup in Daredevil season 1, episode 3. And then a New Yorker pointed out, it's like, no, that's actually like a really common coffee cup from a lot of different cafes in the area.
It is.
So
Can I just sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay. I am gonna just like point this out so that way we don't get to that discussion and derail. But the reason that Daredevil is there is because they're still in the MCU. I was about to say 616, but they're in like 1999999, whatever it is. But they were always, the Netflix series was always placed within the MCU. The issue at hand was the Netflix deal had a 2-year clause where they could not do anything in there. So that just now ended right at the time they started filming this, and Hawkeye.
And Hawkeye, yeah.
So that's why you're starting to see these characters. They've been there. This isn't some multiverse issue, which I think people got a little confused by. But this is why they're there. And obviously, it's a great nod and a great thing of saying, hey, we know you guys love these characters. We're bringing them back.
That's cool. Except for Finn Jones.
I don't think he's coming back.
As long as Iron Fist doesn't show up again.
Iron Fist died on the way back to his home planet.
Yes. So I think people are just reading too far into that, going, oh my God, they're back. And it's like, they were always going to be back if they could find a way to get them back is kind of that solution. So
all right, let's hear a couple pros out of Tyler. What do you got, Tyler?
Oh boy. Well, I mean, obviously the costume in the last scene was a big one.
Yep.
But another one I'm going to say, obviously we were just talking about, I'm a very good lawyer. Everything about Matt just having a huge cameo in the movie. Like
that was cool.
Beautiful. Him catching the brick and everything, and them just be like, what? Nice. Like the Netflix shows obviously vary in quality, but Daredevil has always been like the strongest one.
Would you rather have Daredevil back as a series, Tyler, or as a movie?
I think it still works best as a series.
Yeah. I do too, yeah.
And yeah, so another quick pro, villains in general, the banter was amazing. Hilarious, and I love just Like lizards, like I just want to turn people to lizards. And Electro,
that's his stick for 50, 60 years. You know,
the villains in general were fantastic,
Yes.
and just like the MCU has always had strong villains, but then bringing in these classic villains was so good. And one villain in particular was kind of stole the show for me, but I'll let JR take that.
Oh yeah, I know
It was surrounded by him.
What? No, really, who was it?
JR's a big Electro fan. Or Sandman.
Don't
All right,
you know?
time for the old man. JR, what were your pros?
Well, I think, the cinematography, the art direction, Willem Dafoe!
Yeah, Willem Dafoe. How good was he, man? He was amazing, wasn't he?
You know what?
Weird.
One of the things I was talking about with Donovan last night
Yeah.
was about how not only like even if you had avoided the spoilers, it would almost be you'd have to live on Mars to have not gotten the Andrew and Toby,
Yes.
at least possibility spoiler at some time, right? We've even talked about it on the show here.
Mhm.
So number one, I don't think anybody was expecting them to be, be in the film for like over 45 minutes.
Yeah, no doubt.
And also all the actors, all the villain actors, you got Defoe coming back, you had Alfred Molina coming back, you had Jamie Foxx finally redeeming him, being allowed to redeem him.
Jamie Foxx was a totally different character, I thought.
But the thing about all the actors involved that were coming back, they didn't just phone it in for like a check.
No,
they were invested in their characters and were like really going all out to sell it. And nobody did it bigger than Defoe, right, JR?
Yeah, I mean, it.
He didn't even need a mask, JR. He would just go crazy with your face.
So, JR,
I
Mr.
think
Comics is
never
wanting
needed a mask.
I
to
think
know.
that's what everybody realizes. Like, we don't need to put a mask on this guy,
Yeah.
And then like when Tom Holland is just punching the daylights out of him, and he's still smiling and cackling.
Yeah.
See,
Oh my God.
But
And I will
Spider-Man
say-
has great villains. Everybody has talked about. I mean, everybody's talked about. Well, the MCU has a problem with villains and things like that. Well, yeah. Spider-Man has. I mean, Spider-Man has most of the good villains.
Yeah.
I mean, you can rattle off some of the other guys. They have like maybe one or two great villains. Spider-Man has a bunch of great villains.
Yeah.
And kind of like George says, I mean, it was like they didn't phone it in. And that's why, like, over the years I've gotten more appreciative of Willem Dafoe.
Yep.
Because because we went through a period where people were kind of dissing, Sally Field was dissing the fact that she was in it, and you get and unfortunately we kind of went through the like the last couple of Amazing Spider-Mans, and people were kind of down on it. But I mean, Dafoe he thoroughly enjoyed being in it. He did from day one. If you watch interviews with him, he says, I wanted to do it. I like to do it. It wasn't like, oh, I'm a multi-Oscar nominated actor slumming, so.
Hey, JR, did you read where like he said that like if he told him if he was going to come back, he was going to do everything himself?
Yeah,
I love it.
Like do his own, do his own stunts, do his own fighting, everything. He was going to do it. I was like, oh my God.
I'm with JR on that. I loved Tom just beating him, and he just is cackling the whole time.
Yeah.
That was so freaking cool.
That
We have a
fight is
question for you,
fantastic.
JR. Mr. Comics wants to know what you thought of the Green Goblin's new look, which is right here. What do you think of it?
Well, it's one of those things. Like, in a way, I wish they had come up with a mask for him, a comic accurate mask. But again, if there's one guy who doesn't need a mask,
Yep.
it's Willem Dafoe.
He's freaking scary.
And right now I'm kind of like aggravated because it's like, hell, I can buy Owen Wilson action figures out the wazoo, but I can't get a Green Goblin,
the kitchen for one
I can get those idiotic Eternals figures or whatever, but it's like,
How many Owen Wilson figures do you have in your wazoo?
yeah. I just said I could get them out the wazoo.
You didn't put them in your.
No, I
wazoo.
mean,
Okay.
I go to Target, and it's like, because I went to Target and I said, I saw this giant, like the Funko Pop figures. I saw the big one in the black suit, and I thought, oh, that would make a nice Christmas present for somebody. And then finding out that somebody up in Michigan already took it into his own hands to get himself one, who shall not remain. But yeah, I mean, looking at that, and like you see, like like you see, like I said, the Mobius figures and the Eternals figures, and it's like, oh, come on. I mean, you're leaving money on the table by not having the Spider-Man No Way Home villains. So that's kind of aggravating, but no, I mean, it's like, you can't you can't beat Willem Dafoe looking like Willem Dafoe. So,
and I can tell you, they're saving the figures. They're going to do them once the movie's been out for a bit. They're absolutely going to pump out figures.
Oh, no doubt.
So, JR, I have one pro out of you, Willem Dafoe. Anything else?
Well,
I'm writing them down is what I'm doing.
No, I mean, this really, like George said, I mean, you always worry about these third movies because you're afraid they're going to get overstuffed, and multi-villain movies tend to be overstuffed and things like that. But it was amazing how all the spiders were there, how all the villains were there. And obviously the Lizard and Sandman didn't quite get as strong arcs as the others. I mean, somebody's always going to get shorted, but Doc Ock got a great story arc. I mean, Electro had a good one. It really did feel like a celebration of cinematic Spider-Man.
Yeah, 20 years of Spider-Man.
Yeah. It just felt like if there is never another Spider-Man film made, which of course that's not going to happen.
There'll be one next year.
Yeah, but if there never is another one made for whatever reason, you could live with this being it.
Oh yeah,
that's true.
You realize that this wasn't a 3-part story. This is a story that's been going on since 2002.
Yeah, no doubt.
With this thing. Yeah.
And just jumping off JR's point of just Willem Dafoe just acting the hell out of this role, I think specifically for Willem and Andrew, you can tell how much they loved coming back to this.
Oh yeah,
in their performance. They were having the time of their lives.
There was a lot of meta in what they were saying. Like when they're having that, and they're telling Andrew that he's amazing, and he was like, "I kind of needed to hear that." Thanks. And I was like, "Oh, that's meta. That's
very much so."
And something too. I kind of it's one. It's almost like, boy, I'd like to see more Andrew Garfield Spider-Man.
Right.
This went a long way to redeeming the Mark Webb films.
Yeah,
it really did. Even as bad as ASM2 is, this kind of redeems that too. It doesn't necessarily redeem the Iron Man Jr. movies.
I kind of like
Andrew. A little ray of light on all of them.
Yeah,
I kind of like Andrew coming out and going to Jamie Foxx. What's up, Sparkles? I thought that was kind of fun. I like that. All right, Spencer, let's hear it.
I was just going to say, like, I think because actually. You're going to Spencer. Spencer had us all watch Tick, Tick, Boom. And we were lucky to have Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. The guy's a great actor.
Yeah,
he really is. And the fact that he loved being Spider-Man, was a big bonus. So anyway, that I just wanted to say that.
He was a good ambassador for the character.
I agree. I agree. Yeah. And that poor guy, he's had to lie for 3 months. I'm not in it. I don't know. That's Photoshop. Come on, that's not me. That poor guy.
I don't know. I think he enjoyed that.
He enjoyed messing with people.
Tobey Maguire on the end doesn't have a problem because he just didn't talk to anybody.
Yeah, he does. Andy Garfield's got a lot more movies coming out than Tobey Maguire. So, Spencer, what's some of your pros that's not been said?
Specifically, Willem Dafoe saying, "I'm something of a scientist myself." Everyone in the theater was like, "I understood that reference."
That was like the first big reaction from.
When did that become a meme? I don't remember. I don't remember that being a meme.
The Raimi films are full of memes, Brad.
Yeah.
Have you seen the internet, Brad?
I have. What else you got, Spencer?
No, just the whole like celebration, like when you guys mentioned of like it being a celebration of Spider-Man, because like with me being basically born and raised with Toby and then growing up with Toby and then Andrew and then now Tom, it's just kind of like this whole like full circle of like nostalgia, being able to basically see my childhood hero Spider-Man come back along with everyone else. So that was cool. Basically giving Toby and Andrew some closure finally. Daredevil again, that was mentioned. Being able to actually bring everyone back, like especially like you didn't expect like Sandman or the Lizard's actor to be brought back, but they were, even if they were on screen for like literally like 2 seconds.
Yeah, right.
And they reused footage, is what I heard. Because both actors weren't available due to COVID or something.
Yeah,
so
just for the scenes of them as human. Those were reused, but like their voices are obviously still on there.
Yeah. They got their voices back. Yep. Yeah. All right, Ashley, what's some pros not been said?
The biggest pro for me, of course I have many, but the biggest thing for me that really pushes over into just like, I don't know, a very masterfully told film is the theme and how consistent and how strongly it reverberated throughout the whole movie. And to me, that theme was redemption. We have that literally happening in the plot where Tom Peter is, trying to go out and literally cure all of these other villains and, have them redeem themselves. That's like literally the plot of the movie. But then how it goes outside of that and it redeems all of what we've previously seen as like the weakest points of the entire Spider-Man film franchise. It's like, for all of the Raimi films flaws and how it ended so, Spider-Man 3 for Amazing Spider-Man 2 and how awful it was. And then just for me, it even redeemed Far From Home, which is like, for me, that was a really big deal because I can't remember what it was like when we reviewed it, but maybe I gave it one of the lowest grades, or we all just totally.
I hated it. I didn't hate it, but I think I gave it a D.
I wasn't even on the review show because I didn't even see it.
Yeah,
but I hate that movie, and normally like I can enjoy a bad movie. Like if I think a movie's bad, I can still enjoy something in it. Far From Home, like there's nothing for me to enjoy in it. Like I remember sitting in the theater, like halfway through the movie, I'm like, is this over yet? Like I'm bored. I'm not invested.
I like Mysterio.
What really happens for me? I can at least make fun of a movie and enjoy that, but I couldn't even do that with Far From Home.
Right.
But No Way Home, this made me appreciate Far From Home and it redeemed it for me. So just that it
didn't redeem it, but I understood it a little bit more.
Yeah. I can see the value in it. And for a movie that I just completely wrote off, that was a big deal for me.
Yep.
I mean, this even made me buy Michelle and Peter's relationship a little bit more.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, it felt like they finally gave Zendaya, like an actual role this time instead of just being in the background.
Rather than just snarky girl.
Seriously.
Yeah.
She had a little bit more to do in the second one too.
Yeah. But Far From Home had all these really mean-spirited jokey jokes in it that just really turned me off and belittled the characters and made them you couldn't take them seriously. But especially it was Ned and Betty who they're on off again relationship.
Right.
They just made some really bad choices, but they took the characters seriously in this movie. And oh my God, I liked them, look at that. And then too, how it just gives you a sense of closure, which we never got from the other films. And not only do we get closure in that finally a Spider-Man film franchise is allowed to complete without just failing to renew, and getting canceled and scrapped and then ultimately rebooted, we're finally allowed to have a complete story be told. And not only did it complete its own story, it kind of gave us closure on the previous films as well. So when we see Toby Peter talking to Doc Ock, and he says, "My dear boy," and I'm like, oh, because I love that relationship in Spider-Man 2, and him saving Norman and sacrificing himself basically to keep Tom Peter from killing him. When we see Andrew Peter save MJ in the way that he wasn't able to save Gwen, there's all these little pieces that happen that give us closure and kind of redeem various moments that have happened not just in the MCU Spider-Man movies, but in the Raimi ones and the Mark Webb ones and just the entire film franchise. And I thought that was just absolutely incredible. And it was not something I expected at all from this movie. I expected to, my expectations were so low because I hated Far From Home so much, but this just completely not only blew my expectations out of the water, it's one of the best executed movies I've seen in this regard. So that was my what would just really sold this movie for me.
Awesome. Kelly, what's some of your pros that we haven't been said?
That haven't been said.
I know, right? You're right.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can go over them if you want.
No.
Okay.
No. So the thing is like obviously everybody is right on the money on why this is such a strong film and why it was so good. I will say I did get really excited. Both times that I've seen it, the reaction to Toby has been insane.
Oh,
and it's so clear on how much he's missed. I mean, Andrew gets it too, but like the first screening I had with Toby, it's almost every single scene that he's in, even when he's trying to be a background character, he never will be because of the legacy he created in these movies. I mean, they broke the mold in making the first Spider-Man with Sam Raimi. But that's not really necessarily the pro. I'm just pointing that out because the scene where he does eventually come in and him and Andrew do their flips and whips, that got a really big reaction out of me just because that was so great. And I just really enjoyed actually being able to see them interact and how they kind of do and honestly how they should do. Like they shouldn't sit there and just be buddy immediately.
I liked how Ned's grandma flirted with Toby.
Oh yeah.
That was funny.
The Lola.
I want the Lola. I wanted to bring
Ned's
it.
Lola.
I wanted to bring it too. I was so excited. Ned's Filipino. I'm so
Yeah.
If y'all know, Jack's Filipino. So anytime we see Filipino representation, we're like, oh my god. And Michelle was throwing pandesal at a
the bread.
The bread was
How do you spell
hilarious.
Abuela? A-B-U-E-L-A?
No. It's Lola.
It's Lola.
Lola.
What's a is that a grandma?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Or just like an older.
Abuela is Spanish for grandma.
Yes.
My bad.
And then I guess my second biggest pro beyond just those kinds of those entrances being so meaningful, I would really say, like, I really just think, like you guys have hit on, it's very important. But I really like the second chances. Like the scene where Doctor Strange is like, look, we've got to send them home. Their sacrifice is going to mean bigger to the grand scheme of things. Of essentially saying their deaths are tiny compared to the grand design. And Toby, or not Toby, but Tom. This is the problem. They're all
it's hard.
Yeah. But
Tom, their deaths mean more than their lives.
Yeah, well, exactly. And then Tom saying, you have to have a heart and you have to give them a chance. And it kind of ties into a lot of what May was teaching Peter that we didn't get to see, kind of because in the past it had been muddled up by new suits and Tony Stark. But this time we really see what May really tried to do with Tom's Peter. And, her gravestone says, when you save someone, you save everyone. And that's I think that was the big lesson here in this movie, along with just super crazy, awesome celebration of Spider-Man.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. And what you're saying, it's so Spider-Man of him just trying to help them no matter what.
Exactly.
Yep. All right, Mike, let's hear some pros out of you.
Well, actually, funny enough, some of the comments are already kind of revealing what some of my pro was going to be, like especially the with Andrew, some of the humor in this thing, especially Andrew Garfield's line about, "Oh, you're going to dress up as a cool youth pastor, or you actually have a suit." That just made me just laugh out loud. Some of the meta humor that actually worked, like Tobey Maguire saying like, "Oh, my back, it's kind of killing me," like going back to his actual back injury thing. And also when they were talking about the different villains, like, it's like, "Oh, I fought a guy who was a basic black alien goo," and then Garfield's like, "Oh, all I fought was a dude in a mechanized rhino suit." That was his big high point of his career. And also the idea especially that line about Tom Holland's like, "Oh, the Avengers." He's like, and then Maguire, who's actually told legitimate jokes in this, he's like, "Oh, the Avengers, that's great." what is that? You know,
Are you in a band?
Is it a band?
is it a band? What are you in the band? It's like, yeah. But so I like the fact that they used humor right in this.
Also, the organic. Where does that come out of your body? What?
Yeah, exactly.
That
right.
was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Is that the only place it comes out?
Yeah, I know, right? That was really funny.
Was there blockage? Yeah, that
And then,
Have you had some blockage?
Did you have some
And then
blockage and everything? Yeah.
Even like I said, with the villain banter too, I love Lizard pointing out. He's like, "So you became Electro, and it got rid of your tooth gap and your comb over."
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah.
that was good.
But yeah, no, but a lot of that stuff like that, I like some of the things. The other point I did like, I mean, was when Doc Ock first shows up. And they have that whole bridge fight scene. It's like, and he's actually still in Spider-Man 2 mode, which I like. Oh, that's kind of subtle because it's showing you, it's early on indicating how he's immediately just brought back right before he dies. And he's still in that kind of, you know, acting the same way and everything. So Melina was actually like on point on that. Same thing with you know, I guess we mentioned Andrew Garfield, who I think was excellent in this, especially that whole when he first introductory thing where he's like trying to, he's like, oh, prove it to yourself, and he's like just like lazily like clings to those thing.
You know what? Because you brought up Dr. Octopus real quick. I loved how that admissions lady like went off on him when she got out of the car.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was just
That's not okay.
Yeah.
what you did was not right.
I thought that was awesome.
Come here, But no, but he was great in this, like basically being all like how he's all temperamental initially and everything, and then when he finally gets his chip restored, and how you kind of see like, oh yeah, we're reminded the fact that this was a pretty decent guy all the whole time. I think. But what really kind of what really made me turn around on this whole movie, I mean, and I think JR did touch on it. It was the moment where they're in the apartment. And Tom's spider sense is going off, and how it like you hear the sounds kind of muted and everything, and he's looking around. And initially, I was thinking, oh, is he sensing Jonah somehow because he just arrived there, right?
Yeah.
And then he finally webs up, you know, Norman Osborn, and you realize, oh crap, it's the Green Goblin. And I was actually reminded of JR's his earlier reviews saying about how one of the biggest drawbacks of the first Spider-Man movie was we never got to see a lot of Dafoe's facial acting when he was wearing that mask, that Power Rangers thing. And this time around, we finally got to see it. And then when he was doing that whole bit and basically showing the writing, basically how he's like trying to convince basically both putting down Tom Holland Spidey for being like how he's like, oh, you just got weak and everything because of your aunt, and basically almost telling Electro, hey, gods don't ask for permission, they take, and all that stuff, and telling Otto quiet lapdog and everything, and then leading to that big brutal fight scene where he's they're literally knocking through each other
through levels of the apartment, which was
through the
crazy.
apartment. That's the
fight.
moment where I realized, oh crap, this is the kind of the Spider-Man Green Goblin fight that we've been kind of wanting to see for a while now.
I kind of like that fight more than the last one, honestly.
Oh
So
Yeah.
brutal.
More than the Toby fight
Mm-hmm.
at the end.
I just mean the fight with all three of the spiders versus everyone. The Green Goblin fight against Tom is so good.
Oh yeah,
It's so brutal.
Oh, that's
which
right.
is when he
When he flips him and throws him into the floor.
And the multiple floors.
I like that one scene on the balcony when Tom webs him. He flips him up and then he comes down and he shoves him through a couple layers of balcony.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's brutal.
And the other thing, what's good about that thing, because when it leads to Aunt May's death, it's like, well, the Green Goblin, this is something that JR has talked about a lot too, is the Green Goblin is supposed to be one of Spider-Man's most personal, arch enemies ever.
Yep.
And if you think about it back to the first Spider-Man movie, yeah, he was kind of touched on about that, but he never actually, the Green Goblin, of course, is famous for killing someone that's very close to Peter, killing, Gwen Stacy. Here he kills Aunt May. And it's like, oh, now we've got that.
Yep.
Finally, like it's become real between these two things.
Two of the three spiders, their arch enemy is Norman Osborn.
Yeah,
as played by Willem Dafoe.
As Willem Dafoe, right? And the other thing, and finally, I would have to say, I would also probably compliment Holland's performance too, because because for a long time we were complaining about how his Spider-Man never really kind of always felt like he has like all these other things as a crutch, like Tony Stark or Happy Hogan's there and everything like this, and how this was systematically taking those support networks away, and how he started basically eventually trying to like, hey, he actually knows, he becomes resourceful. How the fact that he actually defeated Doctor Strange with math, for instance, in that mirror dimension thing, which was cool. Like, and it's like, oh, you're finally becoming your own person. No, you're no longer Iron Boy Jr., far from Spider-Man anymore.
And like they even pointed in the Daily Bugle, they even have like a crying Iron Man
baby
Jr. thing.
George drew that.
But so it's so those are so I mean, I'm sure there's many more, and a lot of we've already kind of gone over
here. Before I get my pros, Tyler says, do you think this will leave the door open for Spider-Man 4 with Tobey and Amazing Spider-Man 3 with Garfield?
Probably not.
I don't think so.
They kind of did become full closure thing. I mean, especially
you know what I see could happen? They could probably lure one of them to be in their side Spider-Man movies like Morbius or Venom.
I think the whole point of it was to get Tom Holland in a place where he's like this, the classic Spider-Man going forward.
Yeah.
And I think the rest of that would detract from it. Kelly?
Yeah, Kelly?
Well, what I was going to say is I believe Morbius is set, because Venom is also I know Venom and Morbius are set in the same universe. And I believe they are set in one of their one of those Spider-Man universes. I'm not sure if it's not. I don't think it's Tobey's. I think it's Andrew's, but it's kind of this amalgamation.
Morbius is muddying everything up.
When Morbius runs by, there's a picture of Tobey Maguire's
yeah.
Spider-Man. However, the Vulture is in that movie, so this makes sense.
Exactly.
There's also the Oscorp logo from the ASM movie, so it's all been
so it's
messy.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Since Kelly brought this up, I had a question for Tyler.
Okay.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
Tyler. So we have all these villains. Remember, the whole thing was people who knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
What is Venom doing there? How does Venom know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man?
I know
it's because Sony is very lazy and they just wanted him in the movie. But also, to be fair, Electro didn't know who Spider-Man was either.
That's
and
true.
he's also there.
Yeah.
Well,
but
to know Priceless, if you watched Venom Let There Be Carnage,
I did.
It kind of implies that the Venom symbiotes are kind of like, they have this sort of a hive mind thing, regardless of whether between
across time and space.
Yes.
Across reality.
So Topher Grace's Venom maybe talk to that symbiote.
That's some Dan Slott and Moreland shit right there. Right?
Just like Moreland's sense of smell, right? He can smell
smell it.
He can smell across dimensions, but not smell a pig right next to him.
That's kind of how they explained it. Like, because the Venom symbiote was telling Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock that we're all kind of linked between the different multiverses or something like this.
And bringing up Eddie, I do just want to say that Eddie at the bar in the end is kind of a pro for me that he won't be in this universe. Like, I think I enjoy the Venom movies in a sense because I think they're kind of dumb fun, not because they're good movies. But I would not want Tom Hardy Eddie as a Spider-Man villain.
No.
I'm very glad they're just saying, look, let's bring him here, get the symbiote, get out. Like, so we have the symbiote. I'm very excited that we could essentially have like a good Venom now, versus Tom's Spider-Man. So, but I don't want to see Tom Hardy versus.
I don't know if I want another symbiote. I don't think I want another symbiote storyline in Tom's movies. What, Kelly?
I said I'm slightly afraid if they do a Spider-Man 4 because, again, I know that that's all this thing because Amy Pascal keeps talking about it, but let's be fair, she's talking out her ass. So until it's actually in pre-production, let's just calm that down a little bit.
I think Kevin Feige said he's working on it.
Kevin Feige also likes talking out of his ass. He likes hearing himself speak. Okay, let's be fair here.
One thing Feige has said is that that they're already working on it. He said this yesterday.
Yeah,
that they're already working on what they're going to do next. But he didn't want there to be a big gap, like when they were like trying to when they were fighting over the rights or the deal or whatever.
Well, they made a better agreement. The whole issue in the beginning was Feige made a very fast agreement for Civil War, and to get Spidey in the MCU. So they've redone that agreement. Don't know entirely what it is yet. I kind of thought originally that this was kind of their way of saying, okay, thank you for letting us use them. Sony's going to take it back a little bit more. But we'll see what happens, since they are willing to pay Tom Holland more money like he's wanting. So we'll see it. It's just I'm saying don't hold your breath on a Spider-Man 4 until we know something's in place, because they don't have a script ready. Them saying they're talking about it doesn't mean a whole lot. But shoot, now I'm lost on what I was going to say, but I was I don't know. Never mind. All I'm saying is don't hold your breath on that, but I would be excited to see where that leads. I'm a little... Oh, there we go. Flash. I'm a little afraid that they might give Tony Rivoli the symbiote.
Don't even put that out there.
No,
I am
God.
the number one Agent Venom fan. I do not want that. Please no.
Not that
Please,
kid.
God,
Venom.
no.
God. Okay, my pros. The Aunt May speech. It reminded me very much of the Sally Fields speech, where "You're my boy." That was performed by two Academy Award-winning actresses. Performed that: Marissa Tomei and Sally Field. And Rosemary Harris, she may have one too. But always Aunt May has been very strong, and that made me tear up. I'm like, oh, they're going for this. She's going to deliver the speech. We've not seen Aunt May tell the boy what's up.
We ain't seen Aunt May go at Norman Osborn like
we have not.
Knock his head off.
Marissa Tomei, we have criticized in the past for being Aunt May, but by God, she was good.
We have?
When? Yeah, she's too young. She's hot Aunt May. I remember these comments.
They were the butt of jokes too. Like, she's so hot. That
calling her hot Aunt
May.
Like when I talked about her in Homecoming, I wasn't disparaging her. Number one, I even was pointing out, like, they had an Academy Award-winning actress that literally her whole point, or half the point of her in Homecoming, was for the other characters or other side characters in the film to talk about how hot she was.
Yeah, it happens like it happens like 4 times, and that's all her character
at the restaurant.
Look how hot your aunt is.
Tony.
There's nothing disparaging about Marissa Tomei. Not one bit. When she took the job on, she wanted to play an old Aunt May.
Yes,
that's true.
And Marvel said, "No, we want you to be hot, sexy."
Yeah,
young
This is
Aunt
the first
May.
movie where they've given her something to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was mentioned in comments a while back that Aunt May at Dr. Octopus line, do you want salt water or regular tap water?
Right.
I thought that was hysterical.
I was dying for them for one of them to at least flirt with one another.
Oh yeah, same here.
Oh, I needed that so bad. Because it's canon, Kelly.
It doesn't mean I have to like it.
And you eat your canon and like it, young lady.
I thought the salt water was cute enough.
His wife
What did you say? Did you just drop some dark stuff on here? What did you say?
I said, well, Alfred Molina Doc Ock is single. His wife died.
Yeah,
there's a vacancy.
And he's all hands.
God.
My other pro, which is one of my favorite aspects of Spider-Man, where his superhero life interferes with his personal life. And this was very much interfering with his personal life. The poor kid couldn't get into college. He couldn't go back to high school. His life was totally ruined, all because of Mysterio and getting the word out who he was. And I love the duality of the two lives clashing. And this, more than almost any of them, was very effective in that aspect. So I thought that was great.
You know what was cool about that, Brad?
Yeah. What's that?
Is when... this whole thing, centers around him, all these villains coming in from other universes and all this chaos getting caused. But at the last minute, as in love as he is with Michelle, as idyllic as he thinks that, remember he talked about that. This is the happiest week of my life is when you found out that I was Spider-Man. It's when I felt like myself.
Yep.
All of that, like when it comes down to it at the end, he's talking to Doctor Strange, who's trying to stop everything from falling apart, literally, and says, just have everyone forget. Just have can you do that?
It was heroic.
Everyone. And Dr. Strange is like, he's like, okay, that'll stop it. But literally, everyone's going to forget who you are. And then, no hesitation, just do it.
Yep. That was great.
He knows. And at that point, I'm like, congratulations, you've got your degree now. You're a Spider-Man.
Well, too,
Kelly.
in the beginning, so the first time he asked the question, he asked for Spider-Man. to be the knowledge that went away.
Right.
And at the end, he goes, let people forget that I'm Peter Parker.
Mm-hmm.
He chose Spider-Man at the end of the day.
Right.
And that's kind of the big overarching lesson is I think he realized how important Spider-Man really was.
Yeah.
And it was bigger than himself.
So if you go by what that means, no one remembers he saved the world from Thanos. He was part of the team that did that.
I remember Spider-Man
They
did.
remember Spider-Man.
They
but
don't.
Peter Parker,
Right.
as far as everyone's concerned.
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Well, his Avengers teammates have no clue who he is.
Literally, no one knows who Spider-Man is.
There's like this Spider-Man guy helped us, I guess.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
The Vulture and Scorpion have no memory
That's
of who he is. What else? Who else doesn't know now? Doctor Strange himself doesn't know.
Doctor Strange, none of the Avengers.
Everybody doesn't know.
Yeah, apparently his school didn't know he had a GED.
Yeah, he had to take a
Yeah,
GED
See,
test.
and that's what was kind of funny about this because it's like, okay, so yeah, if you basically turned Peter Parker into George Bailey in the sense that so he has no birth certificate, no student ID, no grade no credit history, no grades of any kind, everything like this. Hence why he was trying to restudy for his GED because he has no school records.
No kind of support from friend or family at all.
Financial or anything.
Nothing.
They all know. They all remember Spider-Man, but as far as the world's concerned, there was no such person as Peter Parker. Now he can basically try to reintroduce himself as Peter Parker, but as far as there's not going to be any kind of paper trail or something like that.
Yeah, he'll just be like, "Look, I was snapped. It was a whole thing."
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So let me read through the pros, and then we're going to go to the cons.
Mm-hmm.
Here they
And one
are,
more
the
thing
pros
real
that I
quick.
wrote down. Very last
can I
scene
add
with the
one
new
more second?
costume.
Brad, yeah, Ashley's trying to ask you something, dude.
Oh, sorry.
I
What?
wanted to add one more thing before we wrapped up the pros.
Okay.
But we were talking so much about how great it was to see Willem Dafoe's face when he was Green Goblin. I wanted to add, and I just realized this, how I'd never noticed before how different he made his voice from Norman versus Green Goblin because the mask filtered his voice too, and so I never really. It only just clicked. I knew he did a little bit. He had a bit of a different voice for Goblin.
Yeah.
But in this movie, they just hammer home how deep that snap was, and it was just.
Well, and it goes back to that.
great thing about
It goes
his
back to
performance.
another scene where he first shows up at the Feast Center, and you can see the difference there with Norman Osborn's how he was scared and he confused and alone, like. I don't know where my son is. I don't know. My home's gone. There's no Oscorp and everything, and how he was like on the verge of tears and everything.
Norman just wants some donuts, okay?
Yeah.
I thought he wanted burritos.
Let him have a donut.
Burrito.
Adam has a good point.
He said he wanted a burrito.
Yeah.
Okay.
Captain Marvel won't say, "Hey, Peter Parker again." Yep.
Oh, that's a big loss.
Did you notice Norman's outfit when he came in to get that food?
Yes.
Did you notice his outfit there? It's pretty
The
cool.
hoodie?
I'm sure you all noticed that. But
Yeah.
Aunt May gave Green Goblin his new look.
Well, there you go.
I was super glad they didn't bring back a creepy Dean DeHaan or whatever his name is.
Oh, Dane DeHaan.
yeah.
Oh,
The slimy goblin.
yeah.
All right, here are the pros before we hit cons. The very last scene with the new costume, Electro Starfish costume, Ditko graffiti, first meeting of the three Spider-Men. Andrew says MJ, Peter's apartment, new costume at the end. I'm a very good lawyer. Villains banter, Willem Dafoe as a pro, celebrating 20 years of Spider-Man movies. I'm something of a scientist. Childhood Spider-Man is back. Tobey and Andrew Garfield's closure, constant theme of redemption. Andrew and Tobey interacting as a pro. Ned's Lola. Second chances for the characters. Hey, I'm a cool youth pastor line. My back, another line people like. Aunt May's death was me. Spider-Man's personal life affecting superhero life is a pro, and Dafoe's voice. Now, let's go through the cons. Bruce, you started last time. What's something you didn't like?
well, I don't like to nitpick it because I do love the movie, and
Bruce, have you ever watched the show before?
I do watch the show pretty frequently. Yeah,
We do a fair bit of nitpicking around
okay,
here.
nitpicking is okay then. But I did mention too, like what you folks had already said, but I still believe Spider-Man 2 is the best superhero movie out there. But I think this is beyond a movie. I think this is a movie event, if you can call it that, like the celebration of all the Spider-Man movies. But I don't know if we'll ever see an event like this again, and I think that's why it's making all the billions and billions of dollars that it is. But one of the things I was wondering about in the movie that kind of was like a drawback to me was, I know it's dramatic that Toby gets stabbed, but he had no spider sense go off that he was going to get stabbed at that point. Maybe maybe he was distracted. That was one thing. Another thing is Sandman, he kind of tells the story of how Norman was killed by Spider-Man and impaled by his glider. Well, that was never really common knowledge. Maybe it came out years later after Norman died, but Peter took the body back to the Osborn house, cleaned up the body, put it in, Harry saw him. He assumed that Spider-Man killed him. Harry didn't even know until Spider-Man 3, whenever the Butler,
I think it was Otto who told part of that story about it being impaled, and he should not know that at all.
No,
I think it was the Sandman that went through, because he said it was all through the news and said, it was all. So that shouldn't have been known unless they could kind of say that down the road it all came out after Harry died, that all the whole history came out. But so there are a couple little inconsistencies like that.
Tyler, what's some cons out of you?
Okay, well, my two biggest ones, I would say, one is first act of the movie I wasn't a big fan of in general, but I thought
I wasn't at all either.
The reason for the villains coming through in general with the spell, I thought that was handled very badly. With Doctor Strange and Peter both just being kind of buffoons in this and not really taking it seriously at all.
It made more sense for Spider-Man because Holland Spider-Man at that time was a buffoon. Yeah, was a motor mouth buffoon who couldn't shut the hell up.
Right.
But for Doctor Strange, it's horrible.
Yeah, it's just like, all right, let's do another thing. All right, let's make up your mind.
Doctor Strange in this movie was just done so wrong on so many levels.
I was curious about George's thoughts. Do you think Doctor Strange was not well done?
Oh, hell no. In this, no, not a bit. Mainly the gist of it, the meat of it comes from exactly what Tyler just mentioned, was the beginning scene. And doing the spell, and then a good Doctor Strange would have just hit like Peter with like some kind of cone of silence or something, just to shut him up, or maybe like wave the hand while he's doing the spell, and Peter's mouth disappears. How about that? Just shut the hell up for 3 seconds. Yeah. But the fact that he kept letting get distracted and kept arguing with him and kept doing the spell the whole time, I was like, dude, no, you're Sorcerer Supreme of Earth.
It was just very badly mishandled for how they did that.
It was awful. Now, conversely, I did like when he fought Spider-Man in the mirror dimension and Spider-Man beat him with science. That was good. That was good. That was well done.
I like Spider-Man using his brains to beat him.
Yeah, I didn't think that made Strange look weak so much as Spider-Man using his own, his own
they
abilities.
They had to dumb down Strange to make him weaker for Spider-Man to beat him.
And then another little pro for that, I like when he's in the astral form and then his spider sense is dodging it, you can see the spider lines.
Oh, yeah.
That was so cool.
Where were the spider lines?
That's what's making the box go up.
When he's in astral form, in his astral form, you see the spider lines.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, you see the little wavy invisible lines.
Yeah, what it is like is his spider sense is when he's out of his body, his spider sense is literally going on autopilot, trying to get the box away from him. I thought
it's what's making the box go all up and down. Even though it's
But Tyler, any other cons?
My other biggest con is, like I said, I am the biggest Flash Thompson fan you'll find, and he is still just an unsalvageable character. He is still just. I hope he just goes to Boston, MIT, and stays there. I don't want to touch this character again. Let's just introduce a new character called Smash Frompson.
We're gonna name him Smash.
Wow! He can become the Hulk and say Smash Smash.
Wow. All right, Kelly. Ashley. Let's go to Ashley. Cons out of you, Ashley.
They're like Bruce says, it feels like nitpicks. They're more like not so much. One of the best parts of this movie is I don't really see them as flaws. I see them as just interesting points of discussion, and they're just mainly big ethical concerns that maybe can't be that are a little outside of the scope of this movie. One of them being, they kind of bring up, all of these, all of Spider-Man's supervillains have some sort of trauma or issue that they need to overcome in order to not be villains, and just kind of a bit of a mental health allegory in the same way like you see in Batman with a lot of his villains. Like there's always is a very common trope in superhero supervillain dichotomies where it's like, how do we address the relationship between the crimes and supervillains and mental health. So when you're kind of tapping into that that domain to suddenly oversimplify with like, oh, we're just going to cure them and we're just going to go stabby stab and shoot them with the cure and they're all magically better. And so you just kind of bring up some like, should we cure mental illness? Can we cure it? Like, is that and like I said, it is totally outside of the scope of this movie to really address, and it is totally not even relevant to the plot. But I just saw it as a bit of an oversimplification, and again, it's more just, I think, an interesting point of discussion.
I wrote down magical cure Saul's mental health as a con.
Well, also too, it shows that it doesn't. Yeah, well, I mean, it also shows that it doesn't because, like, it doesn't really fix them either. But it's still, though, the fact that was the answer at first. Off.
And we don't know if Norman's cured after even 2 doses. He's that crazy.
I don't think there's not really curing. There's no cure for Norman.
Jack made a good point. It wasn't so much curing them; it was taking the gun away and just kind of making it so they couldn't hurt people anymore. I'm like, okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
But a more concrete concern I had at the very end, and I've kind of always taken contention with Peter, not just in the MCU, but in general, like in the comics and stuff, how he kind of assumes he knows what's best for everyone. So when we see in the very end, when everyone's forgotten Peter Parker, and we see him trying to meet up with MJ and Ned again, but then ultimately decides, oh, they're better off without me. But we'd seen how much they wanted, like, no, please, we don't want to forget you. Find us. And we'll find a way. MJ says, I'll find a way to meet you again, remember you, and have you back in my life. But he instead overrides their choice there and says, like, no, you're better off this way. And like it's on one hand it's like it's noble, but on the other hand it is arrogance, it's hubris, and deciding that he knows what's best for them. It's like, they're safer. Maybe they can have a safer, more normal life that way, but it's not his choice to make.
It's very reminiscent of the first Raimi Spider-Man movie, where he kind of also walked away from, Mary Jane in that. And in this one here, it's more like, it's almost like, I mean, they kind of leave it open-ended. Like maybe there's a possibility that they could get back, that Peter and Michelle could get back together again at some point, but not now, kind of thing. That there's that spark still, but
I think the issue is he went to go say something and then realized that wasn't the right time.
There's that. There's that as well.
I think it was more, at least the way I interpreted that scene and the whole thing. It's not like he's forgetting about them, because clearly he's still getting cups of coffee there.
Right.
It's just, I think he realized the best course of action wasn't just to like
spring them all onto once.
All of this happened. It was, I've got to gradually earn their trust back. And then maybe
I saw it a little different. I saw it a little differently, because he was really ready to say it, and even to the last second, you can see his lips getting ready to move, and she pushes her hair back, and he sees the Band-Aid. That's what to me. That's what stops him, because he sees, hey,
she got hurt because
she was hurt. She could be in danger, because his lips were ready to go still up until that last second. When she brushed it back.
That's a good point.
They could have had him throw the note away, but he just pocketed it. So maybe that's
exactly. That's
I would like to see them bring, like, I like it as a flaw for his character, but I would like to see it addressed. It's like, no, this isn't just like, oh, he's the hero, he's the good guy, he's doing the right thing. I'm like, no, there's more to it than that. Like, he thinks he's doing the right thing, but
they totally could use this to their advantage in the fact that if Zendaya doesn't want to come back, they could just move on and get another love interest like Felicia Hardy or whatever.
Oh yeah.
They could totally.
I have thoughts on that. We can talk.
I
about
mean,
that
the Black
later.
Cat is such a trash character to be.
Oh.
Excuse
How
you.
are we gonna? No.
Those are big words coming from Kevin Feige.
Italian
The
Kevin
Italian
Feige. Thank you very much.
Hey, Ashley, this question, it says, what does everyone think of MJ still wearing the necklace Peter gave her after forgetting everything? Was she
That's
wearing the
the-
necklace in the?
She
In the
was.
Yes,
she
she
was.
was.
She was.
That's
And
the sign that maybe there is a still spark and possibility, but maybe not now. Maybe sometime down
Exactly.
the road. Yeah.
I was just happy she
Exactly.
wasn't throwing crullers at somebody. You know what I loved is like when she threw the donuts or whatever, she would throw a donut and then she'd be like, she'd go into a karate pose.
I know.
Pose.
That
Did
was
any of you
cute.
start to think? Did you ever think at the beginning of that scene that Ned and MJ were romantic at first?
I
at
was
first I
kinda
did, but then I
thought that
slowly
a
I
little
dropped
bit.
kind
it.
of felt like she was
Dropped
going to walk over and kiss Ned, and I was going to be like,
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
her life did not get better. Oh,
I mean, I didn't think that was going to happen, so that's a little awkward that y'all think that.
I kind of got.
I kind of felt it a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's several people I've
No.
talked to that felt the same way. Be like, oh no, now she's with
I did.
Ned, and Peter's gonna
No,
be devastated.
I didn't
that's
get-
I could go into on why that is a little weird. But
I mean, he was
I'm
with
gonna
Betty,
whole
and Betty's
table
not
it.
that. There's something about Ned. He's got the Kavorka from Seinfeld.
He's Filipino. Everyone loves
He's
Filipinos.
the lure of the animal. Apparently that's on Ned.
Yeah.
Kavorka.
All right,
Kavorka.
Ashley. Anything else?
Oh, right. We were talking about my cons. That's right.
Yeah, I've got
Um,
magical cure Saul's mental health, and the hubris of Peter not telling MJ and Ned who he is.
Are,
Yeah.
are we doing 2 or 3 cons?
That's okay. Well, I'm
However
not
many you have.
really.
I mean, how many do you have?
If you got more,
Kelly, are you okay?
No, I'm just sitting here going like, we've got so many people. Like by the
I
time
know.
I get, just like
You're
with
not
the
gonna have
pros,
any.
by the time I get called,
Her
I don't
cons are all
have
taken.
anything to
Would-
say.
Yeah, her
You-
cons will all be taken away.
No, Kelly, it's fine. If you agree with a con and you want to talk more about it, just talk more about it. It's like so and so said, or somebody.
Really? Because that's not what Brad said about the pros.
Why are you listening to Brad?
That's your first mistake.
When did you start? Have you? You've been around long enough to know that we just kind of do whatever the hell we want to do.
oh, that's true. Let's go to the old man and his action figures. Jr. Jr. What's your cons?
Well, it's kind of similar to the comments about the miracle cures, but I know the movie's portrayal of Norman has always been a lot closer to the old Silver Age concept of Norman, where maybe he wasn't that bad of a guy, but the Goblin formula made him bad, blah blah blah. But that was one of the things I was glad when they brought Norman back that they got rid of. That Norman Osborn is evil. Norman Osborn likes being the Green Goblin, and particularly after like he stabbed Toby in the back. And then it's like, oh, he's cured, and he's a nice guy now. Oh, what have I done? That kind of rang a little bit. That didn't feel right. That rang a little bit hollow. Because he really, he deserved Tom to stab him, frankly. But So I kind of had the idea that all you got to do is like just take the Goblin formula away from him, and now he's a nice guy. I didn't like that at all, or that implication. Like I said, particularly after he stabbed Toby in the back, for all of a sudden for him to quote unquote get a happy ending, kind of felt wrong. It didn't seem right. Now Doc Ock, obviously, we all knew. I mean, we knew that the chip was losing the chip and the arms taking him over. That definitely, he wasn't that bad of a character. But I prefer Norman to be a bad guy and to stay a bad guy. So I would say that was probably my biggest con.
So let me write it down. Give me a sentence. Norman
Being cured or something.
being cured, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if he is or not. It's I think in a way the MCU. I guess it's almost like the fact that he said that there's no Oscorp here means that I don't know if that means that we're never going to see one, or that means that, well, maybe there still could be one, but there's a Norman Osborn out there who.
Do you want one? Do you
I don't know. After Defoe, I was about to say, unless it's Willem Dafoe, who else could do it?
Have him find a way to go through the multiverse and come back and set up shop. I think
it's almost like you could ask, well, wait a minute, how there's Peter Parker looks different in every universe. How come J. Jonah Jameson always looks like J.K. Simmons in every universe? And, but then again, you don't want that question answered. You want him to be J.K. Simmons no matter what. But I would say it was my big con. And then I think like everybody else, and really this is almost kind of universal. The first half hour to 45 minutes is a little bit rough.
Yeah.
I mean, I did like the idea that, really when you think about it, his life would be, people finding out he's Spider-Man, his life would be ruined. And particularly in this age where everybody's following him, taking pictures with their phones. I thought was, that's exactly what would really happen. He would never
Hornacek has a good question. When Norman returns, is he stabbed by the glider?
Well, see, that's another thing. And I don't know that's a big question. What happens to all these guys?
Yeah, they go back right to the part where they got.
Are they dead?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Why would they be cured if they were just being sent back to be killed?
I
know, but Peter was doing the whole cure thing.
Yeah, it defeats the whole point of not sending them back to die.
So what point do they go back?
About himself.
I mean, it depends when they were obviously all taken very close to their deaths, but we don't know the exact moment where they're taken. A lot of different stuff can happen.
According to Molina, who talked to Variety, he was told that his character was plucked literally from the last moment you see him in Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, he was dead then.
All of them were. That was the whole point. They came back from the moment they died. They even talk about it where they're like, I was kicking ass, and then all of a sudden...
Yeah, but that doesn't make sense for Doc Ock.
But Sandman and Lizard didn't die, though.
Brian says Loki branch universes. We just got a new arch.
Because again, it's one of those things where the way time travel works in the Marvel universe, no matter what kind of change you make, it just automatically creates another branching timeline kind of thing. So with
them putting so much effort into trying to save these, I don't think they all just died.
And I don't think he never said that he got brought there when he was about to die. He said, I had Spider-Man, I was about to crush him. That's when he got sent. So it wasn't like when he was about to die. Because
no, because that's the thing is that's he says that he had him in his hands and then he can't remember. But the thing is what was happening at that scene was he had him in his hands and then he got drug into the ocean and drowned. So I don't know where he might not remember those last few moments.
Well, the last moment.
No, in Spider-Man 2, the chip that malfunction broke and he's himself again.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because he regains control of those last moments to try to drag the
he dragged that himself
to save the city, basically. Yeah.
Well, we'll talk because parts of these are entirely reasons why I have my cons.
I mean, there's plot holes in this. There are.
Yeah. Oh yeah. JR, I just have Norman being cured. What's your second one?
The first half hour to 45 minutes.
First half hour,
rough.
okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then when Andrew steps through though, that boom, and then it never stops. So that was kind of the where it just takes off for good and doesn't let up. So.
Norman's glider came with him, so unless it went back with him, he wouldn't be stabbed. Oh, there you go.
Interesting. Oh, that's an interesting.
Oh, point. Interesting, Tim. All right, Spencer, let's hear your cons.
You're on mute, boy.
Yeah, no. I think like when Norman came back and he said like there's no Oscorp, my son, and everything like that. While it is a nitpick when you try to think of the next trilogy, which is supposedly him in college, like it's like they kind of shot themselves in the foot about what they can do with him later.
So you think they're preemptively neutering themselves?
Yeah. like there's so many things that they no longer can do. Like he can't meet Harry in college because if there's no Oscorp or Norman, he can't have Harry be his best friend. He can't have Harry tripping balls on acid and him fighting drug dealers on campus. He can't have
in front of your father.
I blame the parents.
Yeah, 100% blame the parents.
What they could do though is give. They did write themselves a bit of an out in that how would Norman know that there's no Oscorp? My son's not here, and we see he's not in the best state of mind. He's frightened and confused. He's shown to be kind of feeble-minded from everything he's gone through. So it could be the case of an unreliable narrator, and that could be something if they decide to go with any of that later. It's like, well, that can be what they pin it on. He didn't really have a way of actually knowing that.
You bring up the point, Spencer, about tying themselves in the corner on certain things, and I had I don't recall where I think I mentioned this to Donovan when I was talking to him about last night. This opens up, right? I mean, Peter is completely isolated. He doesn't know anybody. He doesn't have any friends. He is starting from scratch.
Yep.
What do we know is coming up in the MCU later on? In fact, before the X-Men get here,
Galactus,
Multiverse of Madness.
Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking this aligns perfectly for him to get in, with the Fantastic Four and be friends with the Torch.
I agree.
Oh yeah,
which is something we haven't seen.
And where do they meet often? Top of the Empire State Building, or the Statue of Liberty.
Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
And Peter will need to pay rent for his apartment, so he can potentially go to the Bugle and maybe become friends with Randy. That could be a
We've never seen Randy, have we?
No.
We've only seen Robbie.
Only seen Robbie briefly. So we got no Norman, no Oscorp in the MCU. What's another one? Spencer, anything else?
Kind of like the whole thing with MCU Spider-Man of trying their hardest to basically act like Uncle Ben never existed. Because I get Homecoming doing something new. Far From Home, his suitcase. Okay, whoop-de-doo. Wow. And No Way Home looked like it was going to be the one where it's like, okay, maybe we can touch on it. We have Toby and Andrew literally mention Uncle Ben by name. And you still get nothing about Tom's. Even Aunt May's grave. You don't see Uncle Ben's grave next to her.
I still thought they were going to show an Uncle Ben shot.
Big missed opportunity. They could have just panned the camera right and then showed his grave. That would have
been easy. Yeah. Yeah. Where is Uncle Ben? That's my whole question.
I think they want to kind of keep it up their sleeve for now until they can figure out what exactly to do with Uncle Ben.
Yeah. Well, let's not make him a pirate riding dragons like the Amazing Fantasy book we read on Satellites. So my God.
What's wrong with that? I don't see a problem.
Satellites.
Wait till you read that book.
Well, okay. The idea of Uncle Ben riding dragons and living in Valhalla. Cool. Sounds great. The issue is that particular, because that sounds like a cool way to be in heaven, personally.
That's the cover of a metal right there.
But the issue that I have is how Uncle Ben treats Peter for wearing the spider costume is a problem for me.
Kicks him off the dragon. It's not very nice.
I hate it.
All right. We have George now for cons. What's a con for you, sir?
Well, we've already talked about how Doctor Strange comes off in the beginning of this, and it is not good. So that as a Doctor Strange fan, I didn't like that at all. My gripes are kind of small because, my gripes are here. It's like this sliver in the pie chart, and then the rest of it is just great, right?
Yeah.
But I hate this Jonah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I hate this Jonah. I have not. Remember, I didn't see Far From Home, but when we. That's at the end of that's when you first see him and he's all bald and everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, the hell is that? That's stupid. A bald Jonah who doesn't have the mustache? Not really Jonah.
Well, he has the mustache.
Yeah, he might as well just be Jonah with a mustache.
He has a normal mustache. He doesn't have the little square mustache.
Square stash.
It's not Jonah to me. I see it and I'm like, what is J.K. Simmons doing in here without any hair?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't see Jonah.
I would agree with you, George, in the fact that I like Jonah a little bit more humorous. He's very what is it? Who are they going for with this?
Alex
Jones.
They're going very
It's
much Alex
very
Jones.
much an Alex
with it,
Jones parody,
I think.
especially when he pulls
Yeah.
out the supplements thing.
Oh yeah, when it
Yeah.
was supplement. Yeah, that was, that was funny.
I would have liked, like in Spider-Man 3, he had a good, and all the Spider-Man with J.K. Simmons, he had a good line. The only kind of funny line he had was, did you see that? Was that a dinosaur or something like that?
Yeah,
There
right,
wasn't
yeah.
a really
Yeah.
good Jonah line.
There's no reason, absolutely no reason to not have just taken the Raimi Jonah and just put him in here.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Unless-
Zero.
conceptually,
Zero.
conceptually him being
Conceptually, my ass. No good reason.
all right, fine. I was gonna say like him
None.
being like a talk show
I've-
host thing.
I've
was
spoken.
actually- okay,
But I
all right,
do-
fine.
George, you got to admit though. the
No, I
newspapers
don't.
The newspapers are dying. I do like him as a reporter.
Yeah, that's fine. Ought to look like Jonah.
I'll give you that. Give him a toupee, and be a little bit more funny.
Mhm.
I just there's no rational explanation for why he can't look like Jonah.
The man can get a haircut, George.
No,
Yeah, but J.K. Simmons wanted to look like Jonah, and then
Well,
Marvel
he's
said
wrong.
no. I'm
You're
saying
wanting a toupee.
J.K.
Is that what
Simmons
you're?
wanted him to look like Jonah. He wanted the flat top and everything.
and
but
they told him
Marvel-
no.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
told him no.
apparently.
They told him no. Well, too,
Like-
they told him that it was it was gonna just be a different Jonah, so the look had to be different. And
No,
that was
goddamn it! I need
before-
answers.
Yeah,
I need,
and-
I need accountability on this.
they wanted the
can't be the
mustache
same.
gone. And he's like, no, I'm keeping a mustache.
Yeah.
If you want to get rid of the hair, that's okay, but give me the mustache.
This feels like a Pascal thing.
The Raimi
Yeah,
Jonah
probably-
should
Yes,
come
it
through the
does.
One or the
multiverse,
other.
rip into the
Yeah.
film, and say, "I always knew Spider-Man was Peter."
I just would, since it's a clean slate, right? Since we've gotten rid of the taint of Tony Stark now, we no longer have Stark taint in this film.
Tony Taint.
Yeah,
God.
we no longer have Tony Taint. All right, even Happy doesn't know who he is. That's great. Happy, farewell and good tidings. Get the hell out of here. All right, so we're starting over, clean slate. I want class. I want Jonah to look the way Jonah should look. And if somebody asks him about it real quick, say, "Hey, what's with their hair?" He'll be like, hey, I'm trying not to look. Shut up. 4, 3, 2, 1, and then he just starts ranting on TV or whatever.
Right.
I
Yeah.
got a
That'll be
toupee.
fine for me. But by God, I want a proper Jonah. We've got a proper Spider-Man and a proper Spider-Man suit and a proper Spider-Man small apartment with a proper Spider-Man police scanner on his phone. I want a proper Jonah.
All right.
And then another
I'm old, damn it. I want a proper Jonah. I had 2 terrible films. I want a proper Jonah.
another problem with this Jonah is that there's no redeeming qualities about him at all. Like
Yeah,
in
no.
the Raimi
Nope.
movies
That's
with
very
Goblin,
irritable.
where he doesn't tell. He's like, oh, Peter Parker, he doesn't say Peter Parker by name. He says, oh, it's just anonymous guy who sends his photos in the mail.
That's
That
because all the
shows
redeeming qualities are in the little square mustache. He doesn't have that.
yeah, because they're missing that from this Jonah. He's just a parody.
All right.
Yeah.
That's one, George. You want a proper Jonah? What's the other one? Con.
Really, the only other one I had is that even though we finally get away from the Stark taint, and like I said earlier, I mean, this film doesn't just get away from it. This film drags it out back and puts a bullet in its head and leaves
That's not a con though.
and leaves it for dead. No, I'm saying, but there is still a ton of Stark stuff in this,
Yeah.
including like the big machine they use in the apartment to just start fabricating stuff. It just
Don't
start
forget
thing.
the arc reactor.
Got a
the
little arc
electrolyzer.
reactor
The Deus Ex
on the
Machina.
lab. Got an arc reactor, left and right in this film.
Mhm.
At one point, at the end, Dr. Octopus is holding an arc reactor. And I'm just looking at all this crap, and I'm
And
like,
the
I get it,
nanomachine,
and we're getting
don't
away
forget
from it.
that.
Thank God we're getting away from it. But at the same time, even all 3 Spider-Man were using salvaged Stark stuff that they'd taken from that machine when it got wrecked in the apartment.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, what the? But
Don't forget.
but we
don't
drug it
forget-
out back and shot it. So.
Don't forget Doc Ock taking the nanomachines and putting it on his arms off the Spidey suit thing.
Yeah. But
What'd you think of Doc Ock taking some Stark tech?
Iron Octopus.
Iron Ock, yeah.
oh God! Can we get away from iron
The
crap
visual was
already?
cool how it went red all up
The man is dead. Can we let it lie? No, we can't because we're going to have an Ironheart series. Oh, good God! I want to jump out a window. I want to defenestrate myself right here.
Yeah.
That's it. By God, I'm going out. Goodbye.
No, Italian Kevin Feige, no. All right, Kelly, your 2 cons.
Kelly looks like she wants to slap us.
Oh,
all.
2 cons.
Why is it
Now,
Oh, here we go. Here we
Huh.
go.
I was trying to
Here
get
we go.
okay. You're multiple more than 2 cons. Go
no, I'm gonna give 2 cons. I'm just saying that.
Kelly, just do what you want to.
ahead. Yeah, do what you want. Go ahead.
So, all right. Anyway, one that y'all haven't given already is very creepy, borderline rapey happy is disgusting, and I hate every single scene that Jon Favreau is in being clingy as hell. I want to chuck. And even towards the end, one of the things that absolutely ruins that scene where Peter is with Aunt May's grave is Happy showing up.
Yeah.
Even still, after the very first lines we get from Aunt May from this movie is he needs to learn boundaries.
Yeah. Or we was a fling, and that was it.
I got you. Yeah.
And so, I mean, I know that that's not like the biggest grand scheme of things, but obviously, like, we've pointed out a lot of stuff that I do actually take, you know, me thinking about it critically, I do actually take some weight to. There's a lot of plot holes, there's a lot of everything, but like that just in general makes my skin crawl, and I don't want to watch it. As somebody who's had
jokes about.
Well, no, as somebody's had to like truly deal with somebody like that, like it's gross, and so I don't want to be reminded of that in my Spider-Man movie ever. So I can't stand it. And I will say, I guess maybe it does kind of make it. There's a little bit of a silver lining in that now that Happy is shown his true colors as being very creepy, nobody's going to want him on screen again. So we can finally truly get away from all of the Stark crap because he's gone.
Happy's going to be busy needing a very good lawyer. So
You know, if you go by the comic books, Happy is going to get with Gwyneth Paltrow.
Good.
Yeah, with
they can stay over there.
Yeah. But Kelly, let me ask you this though: Are you at least glad that we're probably not going to see Happy in another Spider-Man movie again?
Same.
I mean, I don't want to see Happy. I don't want to see I truly, honestly, I'm burned out of the MCU in a lot of ways. Like a lot of things are great, like in terms of like the TV shows, Hawkeye, etc.
Hawkeye's amazing.
But almost all of I don't really want to see Steve Rogers and all of that mess again. Thanks to Endgame. I don't want to see anything with Tony Stark for a long time. Anything with Stark Tech, anything with those characters. I am burned out. And so, in a way, you know, this did take the. I think so. In my job, in like process management and stuff, we call things muda in the Kaizen systems, which is waste, Japanese for waste. So it's like it takes the muda out of it. But the way it's done, as we've all said, is very clunky. And I think that my second biggest con is they've written themselves into a very strange hole. And the issue is that since they've given so much to the fans with all the fan service, which I will say as a pro, the fan service is written in so beautifully. It's very clear that somebody had a heart in the writing team and was going to do this correctly. And, you know, they were like, if we're going to bring all these ensemble things, we're not going to sit there and kind of do it like Endgame and just give you these fan service clips and be done with it. It's going to be written in. And I think that's beautiful, but it almost felt like two separate stories for one thing. And then, or two separate scripts, rather. It's like before Aunt May's death and after Aunt May's death with the, let's keep it all jokey like all of the other Watts movies before. Oh, she died. Now he's a grown-up. That, you know, in a way that can be interpreted two different ways, but it got clunky. But they've written themselves with giving us everything, and that was the big thing that I was so concerned by during the hype of the movie, is that now that they've given this to us, all the fans are going to want more and more comic-like things with Tom Holland that they can't give us without completely retconning or making things kind of worse in that world. Because they can't give us Mary Jane, they can't give us Flash, they can't give us Harry Osborn without like seriously rewriting everything. And because they're very clearly, you know, they very clearly were like saying, hey, Doctor Strange can't change everything. This is their world. Now, Multiverse of Madness could totally just completely erase everything, but I don't think Sony's going to go for that because this is still Sony's universe. So it's, I don't really know where they can go from here. And I feel like, the ending was bleak, y'all. Very bleak. It wasn't inspiring. Like you have a cute, you have a great scene of him being Spider-Man out there, but ultimately that's all he has left.
He's in an apartment by himself studying for a GED.
I think that's the point of it, though, to set the status quo going into the next arc, and then he can grow again from there. I mean, he's going to get new friends. He's going to get, at some point, he's going to find a new girlfriend.
Yeah, but it's never going to see. But the fans are saying, you know, they'll riot if they don't have MJ, or they'll riot if they don't see Gwen, or they'll riot this, they'll do this. And that's kind of where this even happened, is because everybody wanted so many different things that they were nice enough and willing enough to give us. They've written themselves into a hole, because the next time they do a movie and they don't give that, unfortunately, especially the movie only fans, we might understand as comic fans, those casual viewers are just going to get mad. It's one of the things that I've gotten pissed off about with Endgame, because Endgame gave them so much crap that really didn't make sense and created more plot holes than it did closure in 10 years.
Well,
but they didn't, you know, what I like, basically it created the situation where now if these fans don't get exactly what they want, even though they don't even know they don't know what they're really asking for, they just get mad and things get weird. And
so what you're saying, Kelly, is that they haven't screwed up the first two Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, we probably wouldn't be in this mess that we're getting into.
Look, they messed up the first two by being wrong. Like, they were just wrong about the characterization. This is a great movie on characterization, but now they've created a situation that they can't really get this character out of, and they keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. And eventually they are setting the actor up for failure.
Yeah, see, now that's why I kind of think that if this had been the last Tom Holland MCU Spider-Man movie, I would be totally fine with that, because I think it ends on the idea that even though you say it's bleak, it's at the same time it does end with like, oh, he's technically the Spider-Man, like the Spider-Man we all know now.
Yes,
essentially.
exactly.
And so,
yeah.
So just leave it alone at that point. And just use your imagination later for stuff. Yeah.
Kelly, anything else you want to say? You can have more than two. You don't have to listen to me.
We're like I said, y'all have pointed out almost everything, and I know.
No, no one's pointed out the one I got.
I
got two. Hasn't been said yet.
I'm just gonna say too, because it's like I saw where everybody was like, "Oh my God, you gave it a B+." Were you even watching the same movie?
No,
I was. I have
didn't.
A critical eye, and I'm sorry. Even though I see the frills and the glitter, and I love it, it doesn't make the movie for me.
But I understand totally where you're coming from, Kelly, because I can see the B+ thing. Now,
Mike, your two cons. Go ahead.
Okay. Two cons. Okay. One is more not necessarily a con necessarily, but everyone's talked about the first 30 minutes, and I won't go into that. This main thing I did is there was a couple of missed opportunities here. We didn't get a Sinister 6. We got a Sinister 5 instead. Now
we got a Funky 5.
Yeah.
I like Funky 5.
I heard something else there, George.
I understand why we didn't, because it wouldn't fit with the theme if we suddenly got, like, say the Rhino or another Mysterio from an alternate universe joining this crew or whatever, because the idea is they're supposed to be all like the villains here were all like the results of lab accidents and stuff. And that's fine. But I still kind of would have liked to have seen that thing. Plus it would have been synergized really well. The other major con I had was...
Can I just say something in regards to the Sinister 6 thing? I'm kind of glad they didn't do 6, even though it is kind of a missed opportunity, like you said. I'm kind of glad they didn't do 6, because if we get a Sinister 6 ever, I want to see it one Spider-Man versus 6 of his own villains.
True.
True.
So, and the Vulture really wasn't going to. The Vulture really wasn't going to fit into the story here.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
because the Vulture's just an asshole.
Yeah, it's more of a.
It's not crazy. He's just a mean guy.
It's more like, to me, like a missed opportunity. Like another missed opportunity, like not having, like, Toby and Andrew Spidey not commenting about this version of Jonah. Like, basically, why didn't they say something like, "Oh, why who gave him his own TV show," or something? It's stuff like that. But the second con that I have, and it's a
real
pretty
quick,
big one.
Adam says Doctor Strange was the 6th villain.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, right. The other major con I had was Ned suddenly getting magic powers, because that was like, really, you're gonna go there with it. I wish I could see him and all that stuff.
Because plot.
And because plot, yeah.
Yeah, it took Stephen Strange like weeks.
Yeah.
In
You
the
know,
movie, yeah.
it took them throwing him into an environment which he would die within minutes because of how cold
The
it was.
only
Yep.
setup
For him
we
to be
got
able
from,
to use it, Ned's like, hey, woo,
and
look at there.
the only setup we got from that is like, oh yeah, my Lola said that there may have been magic in our family.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I mean, it's not entirely
I'm
far
making
fetched. I've got to say, Jack's great grandmother was legitimately a shaman. So
yeah, right. But I mean, but it was one of those things where it's like, yeah, so he suddenly gets magic power, suddenly can do the thing, and then the cape goes on him and everything. I'm like thinking, are they trying to I mean, it's like to me it was like, oh, it just seemed, yeah, as much as we like the fact that Toby and Andrew Spidey come in and everything, to me it's just like how they brought him in was kind of lazy. I mean, with oh, I got magic all of a sudden.
Well, Mike,
It's
they
like,
only have so long. You know how many characters there are in this film?
I know,
Yeah.
Cards.
which is
You know?
kind of why, I mean, even though it's so at this point, from what I understand, I think Kirsten Dunst was supposed to reprise a role as Mary Jane in this film, but they couldn't because of COVID.
Pregnant. Well, also she
that-
was pregnant, and that was
Still should have thrown her in.
Well, no, and I think
what would the pregnant woman?
We've gone through the whole cons, and you just said mine, Mike. There was no Kirsten Dunst. I wanted Mary Jane. I wanted after credit scenes with Sally Field and Kirsten Dunst is who I wanted. I wanted to see
Sally
Brad
Field not
go
ever
back,
coming back for this.
and I wanted to see Kirsten Dunst with a baby May, or even pregnant with baby
Yes.
May. Would have been perfect for Toby.
Brad
Perfect.
wanted even more closure.
yeah.
did.
Well, a lot of people did, and I think, like, I didn't kind of agree with it the first time I watched it. I was like, no, it ends the way it needs to end. I do agree toward, like, when I rewatched it yesterday with my family, that was something my brother brought up and something my dad brought up. And my dad, he's a big Batman fan. He's not a big Spider-Man fan.
Mhm.
So for him to kind of bring that up as a movie thing where he was like, well, why didn't we see them go to their home worlds and make sure they're okay?
Mhm.
Yes, that I do feel like that should have happened, but I understand why Kristen Dunst couldn't film at the time due to with the COVID protocols and her being pregnant, etc. I've also heard where people really wanted to see Gwen show up, but also Emma Stone was also pregnant and also probably wasn't going to go hang out with her ex-boyfriend on set.
Yeah.
So
You know what's
Gwen
funny?
Gwen still works best as a corpse.
Once the movie comes out, I want someone to edit on the end, like they go back and freeze frames of the people's faces, and this character went on to do this and this.
Anthony was looking for a wedding ring on Toby. He did not have it, I don't think.
See,
No,
Kelly,
he
if she's pregnant and they could have been able to bring her back, then they could have had like a teenage daughter.
I
and then,
don't
like,
want
Mary-
Amy Pascal touching Mayday, okay?
That's fair.
I missed
That's
Bruce
fair.
Campbell.
That's fair.
I missed Bruce Campbell. I wanted
Oh
to see
yeah,
him.
Yeah,
That would've been
no Bruce
great if he
Campbell.
showed up in this.
Oh,
That would have been great.
Well, we're getting him back in we're getting
Is
him
he
back in
gonna be
Doctor
in Doctor
Strange.
Strange?
Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, he's gonna be
Yeah.
in that.
That's
Is he
right.
going to be Mysterio? That'd be awesome.
No, he's not gonna be. I don't know who he's
No.
gonna be. He'll probably be a guy operating a Ferris wheel for all I know. I mean,
Mike goes,
Yeah.
WTF would Kirsten Dunst do?
sit there and be pregnant with
Just be
Ben.
there.
Talk to Zendaya about their relation. Talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
their different. I mean, yeah, it ruined
That
the
sounds like
basketball test,
something
but at the same
Zendaya's
time,
MJ
yeah.
would love to do.
Call
Yeah,
call Toby Tiger when he gets back from being in another.
Oh,
damn
that's
dimension.
another thing I hated.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Did-
Betty.
Betty said the tiger line.
Yes.
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was
What
not
was
happy
she-
with
It
that.
wasn't the exact tiger. It was like, go get him, tiger, or something.
No,
Yeah.
but she still should. She has no place.
Okay. The reason she does say that though is because they did make that Midtown High's mascot the tiger.
yeah.
Tiger.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's
That's
why
kinda
it was
fun.
said, but it's yeah.
It just was wrong.
Okay, so my con was the lack of closure for Toby and Andrew. I wanted to see them go back. My other con was what an absolute waste of the Venom teaser, and
Oh,
the Venom post-credit scene was a mess. It could have just been on the editing room floor. I
Hey.
don't understand that. I
That
understood it
was-
as what?
That was my nephew's favorite scene.
It was totally, it was not more of a, instead of a post-credit scene, it was a Sony synergy theme.
How old is your nephew?
6.
So
Oh,
6-year-olds should like the symbiote crap.
So you got Tom Hardy sitting. So there's a green guy called the Hulk, and there's
If you have a childlike innocence, you can enjoy the symbiote.
That's why
story.
Brad's really mad because he called the Hulk's name dumb.
Yeah.
Well,
I
Brad,
still want a Hulk Spider-Man. The only interaction they ever had was at the funeral of Tony Stark. They were on a bridge. That's the only Hulk Spider-Man interaction we ever had.
But I hear you, Brad, because after the post-credits thing from Venom Let There Be Carnage, where they basically, oh my gosh, are they actually going to have Tom Hardy and Tom Holland,
and Venom went nowhere. It was a fart.
Nope, I'm going back. It's like,
Bruce, were you trying to say something?
I was going to say, I was curious if Brad saw that post-credit scene from Carnage. And,
I did.
Obviously, they were drawn here somehow by the Doctor Strange spell, and then they were cast back out. But a friend of mine said, well, if they were cast back out, how did that goo stay behind? He wanted all the goo to go if they were getting cast back out.
Because it's asexual reproduction thing from the Venom Spins idiot.
On the bar counter. Oh, gross.
It's born in the MCU.
Oh, God.
Venom
It
sitting
also
there
was
mating.
drunk.
It's a
It also
naturalized symbiote.
That's true. That's true.
Oh, the symbiote's drunk? Oh,
Yeah, Venom literally said, Eddie, we're drunk. Let's
We're
go
drunk,
skinny
yeah.
dipping.
Yep.
Oh, gross. Gross.
Yeah.
Like I said,
Anyway,
Brad,
and then left a little DNA on the
I'm glad
bar.
he just got out of here. I'm
Me
glad.
too, but he crossed dimensions to go get drunk and he went home. What
Then he
kind
crossed
of
the
rock?
street.
I mean, come on.
Just to deliver the symbiote. That's all.
Just
That's
to
all.
deliver
Yeah.
the symbiote.
That's all
That
we
would
need.
I have a
That's
question
okay.
about
Yeah,
that scene
good
too.
time.
What,
Does
Bruce?
that mean the blip only happened in Tom's universe?
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
the
it was
blip didn't-
contained in that universe.
The blip didn't happen anywhere else except for Tom
No.
Holland's universe.
Yeah.
It wasn't a multi-dimensional blip.
Yeah. Thanos,
Yeah.
Thanos is just a farmer in Eddie's universe.
Yeah.
What about Venom licking the TV on Venom 2? Yeah, he was going to go fight Spider-Man.
But instead, they got drunk.
He got drunk.
And now drunk symbiote can find him.
Drunk symbiote. Gary in the Frozen wants to know, is Sally Field my favorite Aunt May? No, Rosemary Harris is.
Yeah.
It's more true to the comics. I think Aunt May needs to be a little older and spunky. And I thought Rosemary Harris from the Tobey Maguire.
Spunky. I mean, you just had an Aunt May that went at Norman.
No. She's a little too young for my Aunt May taste. She's more
She's
old.
56
No,
years
yeah,
old.
age-wise,
Rosemary Harris
she's-
is 80 or 70 in those movies.
What are you saying,
Go ahead.
Kelly?
No, I was saying age-wise, Aunt May is about Marissa Tomei is about the right age in comparison to Tom Holland. The issue is just, in Hollywood, for Marissa Tomei to actually get acting work, she's got to look young.
Yeah.
And she wanted to let her hair get gray and look older, and then they wouldn't let her.
I wanted to see that.
Oh yeah, Rosemary Harris hitting Doc Ock with an umbrella. That's
Yes.
spunky.
Yeah,
That's
that
what I'm
was, yeah.
So
saying.
both Rosemary Harris and Marissa Tomei, Aunt May, were ready to go toe to toe
Yeah.
with Spider-Man's
true.
villains.
Yeah.
Sally Field never fought
With
anybody,
blunt
did she?
objects.
Nope.
And Rosemary Harris was screaming for her life. Aunt May or Marissa Tomei was like, "Get away from my kid! I'll brain you, freak!"
I mean, Rosemary still bashed Doc Ock with it.
I'm just being
So
kidding.
I like at the end of the day that all these cons are fairly minor.
Yes,
Yeah,
they
they
are.
are.
They are.
Let's go over the cons. Nice
They
segue.
made
Hang on. What, Kelly?
I was gonna say, but they do add up, and that's why,
Yeah.
to me, I can't say that this is the best Spider-Man movie because ultimately, story-wise, it's not. Is it fun? Hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I almost gave it a B+ just because of how badly the first act drags it
Yeah.
down.
Right, yeah.
After two consecutive crap films of Spider-Man, I'm happy with just this. I enjoyed it and it made me feel good.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
Yeah.
excited
Now,
for the future of Spider-Man movies again.
True. Here's the cons that I wrote down. We won't see an event.
Event. There we go.
Event
Not
6.
event
Event
6.
like this again. Toby gets stabbed with no spider sense. How did Sandman know of Norman's death? First act of the movie. Doctor Strange was not well done. Flash Thompson, unsalvageable. Magical cure solves
It's
Dr.
Brad,
Strange.
Ashley. It's
What
Brad.
I do?
Yeah.
Dr.
What happened?
Strange.
Doctor Strange. Well, it might have both been Doctor Strange because this wasn't really.
Dr.
I mean,
Strange,
'cause
sorry.
It's like the Tony Stink.
Flash Thompson.
Yeah, Tony Stank. Yeah.
Flash Thompson, unsalvageable. Magic cure solves mental health. Hubris of Peter not telling MJ and Ned who he is. Norman being cured. The first half was slow. Norman has no Oscorp in MCU. Uncle Ben never existed. Jonah's bald and not funny. Just a smidge of Stark. Creepy John Favreau. I probably spelled Favreau wrong.
You did.
written
It's
themselves into a hole. No Sinister Six, but we did have the Funky Five.
Yeah.
Ned getting powers and a cape as a con. No Kirsten Dunst or Sally Field. Betty says the Tiger Line, and mine was the Venom. What
Venom
was he there
post-credit
for?
scene, yeah.
Also, the Doctor Strange was more of a movie trailer than a post-credit. That
Yeah.
was
Well,
kinda-
yeah, which is fine. Which does actually look interesting, by the way. I mean,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
of Sam Raimi.
I didn't
but-
regret staying after what I thought. I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, this looks pretty cool.
I've got some pictures. I just want you guys to react to them. What do you think of Zendaya's performance in this?
I think she did
Great.
great.
I
think
liked
she's
it.
pretty good.
I think
yeah.
better,
Better, better than the other two.
Yep.
There was,
Much
speaking of this scene, because this was early on in the film,
Yeah.
when he swung her up there, to the top of the bridge, and then he was kind of like looking around, like he's used to this. I was thinking, holy crap, he's used to it, but she's probably not. She's probably on the other end freaking out, and then immediately they go back to showing her, and she's like, "What the?" She's like really.
Yeah.
That was a
Yeah.
good scene.
Yeah.
I love that. I love
Dude,
Dude, yeah.
that was good. What do we think of this? The new Goblin.
It's actually I like the fact that they incorporated that purple ratted
The
hood
hood.
thing into
Yeah.
design.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
but I mean, other than that, I mean, it's like I kind of with JR, I mean, I know they can't do the mask thing, but because they have to see him emote. But
Yeah, I wish he had gone crazy. I wish he painted his face green or something.
Oh, that would
What
be
do you think was going
interesting.
through his
Yeah.
head when he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna wrap this around my head. That'll be cool." What was the decision-making process?
Can I just say that before Norman went full green goblin, he did ask for a frozen burrito and he wasn't given it. So I feel like
Oh.
this all started
Probably
because he needed
Taco
a
Tuesday.
burrito.
So he needs to
Yeah.
leave a 0 out of 5 review on Yelp for.
Yes, yeah,
Didn't he also say somebody was living in his house?
yes,
Yeah.
he did.
Yep. Yeah. Somebody still
It was JR and Spencer. No. All right, we got there's the mask right there with the movie
Yeah.
poster. People were guessing that was the background of Toby's suit too. I saw online. I'm like, it's
No.
not.
It's
No.
not.
Oh, what'd you think of the ASM 50 homage with the
Oh, that was
the
interesting.
dumpster of the suit, but the dumpster of the goblin? Jared, what did you think of ASM 50 on this?
I didn't, but then I saw plenty of references that to it. So, but that's
Yeah.
not what occurred to me.
Yeah,
What just occurred to me was good. They're getting rid of that damn mask.
yeah, no doubt. We've got. I think they de-aged his face a little bit. I read.
Yeah, there was some.
They
did.
They did that. What they do that did that digital process that they did. Like if you
Yeah.
saw, like if you saw the
Deep
oh,
fake.
that one movie was the that I'm thinking with with Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, and
Oh, yeah, that-
Irishman.
The Irishman. Yeah, same thing that they did here.
They did that with X-Men 3. They de-aged
Well,
Patrick Stewart.
Yeah,
and,
but
he
what's his
looked,
name?
it looked more convincing. I thought.
They also did it with Samuel L. Jackson and Captain Marvel.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah.
Mhm.
And-
Brad, we covered this on the podcast at one point because this was one of the things that I covered.
Yeah.
And you had Molina saying that he's like, it's been 20 years since I played
Right.
that guy, and I look 20 years older. And he said he was concerned about it because, and he pointed out the Irishman, and he said, they can de-age De Niro, but it doesn't mean he's moving the same.
Right.
Right.
And so he was like, they basically when they de-aged him, he talked about how he didn't really have to move all that much. He just kind of floated around, and the arms did most of the work for him.
Right.
So
Oh yeah. Yep.
All right, we got a couple more pictures. I thought he played a totally different character, which wasn't
He
bad.
played a
Actually.
much better character than he did. in
He
Amazing
was a lot of
Spider-Man
fun.
2. Yeah.
Well,
He
got
actually
to play,
had something to do. Yeah.
Well, too, he got to play Electro the way he wanted to play Electro, just
Yes.
kind of like how Andrew actually got to play Peter the way he wanted to play Peter.
Mm-hmm.
They had a lot of weird issues with their scripts under Webb.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was just Webb's directing or what was going on.
I think like a lot of producer interference too. around
Yeah.
Garfield.
Exactly. So
I'll blame
they,
Amy
They got to
Pascal.
have fun.
But I
Cool.
thought Jamie Foxx was fun, and
Look,
I thought he did a great job.
MCU electricity just hits different. Okay.
What do you think? We haven't talked much about Sandman and Lizard. What do you think of those two?
I
I
was so
thought it
happy
was-
for Sandman. He gets to see his daughter again.
I thought it was
That was
actually
one of the
nice
best
touch
parts.
that they actually didn't make Sandman a complete bad guy.
Yeah.
They kept
Yeah.
it carried over from
Shoot.
Spider-Man 3. And I know there was some people who were kind of complaining like, well, what about that whole scene in the apartment thing? What he was going on in that he's like when Norman Osborn going to Goblin mode and Electro started turning on him and throwing Doc Ock out, Sandman was just going, that's it. I'm out. I know I'm not on the winning side. I'm out of here, kind of thing.
Exactly.
While
Yeah.
we're talking about Sandman, I have to add how like one of my favorite parts of the movie was when they brought in that little leitmotif of Danny Elfman's Spider-Man theme from the Raimi movies.
Oh yeah.
When
That was sick.
when Toby Peter like
I saw
hears
online
singing it,
people
and
were
oh my
like,
God, I lost my
look
mind
at
when they brought
look
that
at
theme
track 19 on the soundtrack. It sounds like the mashing of the two, and they were like, oh,
Yeah.
it proves that they're in there.
I also liked with Sandman, like when he first showed up,
Mm-hmm.
how he was actually friendly to what he thought was the Spider-Man that he knew.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that.
That aligns with the comics because he's a good
It
guy,
does.
bad guy sometimes.
Right.
Yeah, and then for Lizard, I'll say like Lizard's always been one of my favorite comic characters. There are subtle design changes he had in the movie.
Yeah.
Like like there's little ridges on his head instead of just being a sphere, and so and like I think his skull structure is a little changed to be more lizard-like because in the ASM movies they wanted him to be like half human, half lizard, and for
Give
his
him a
face.
snout. Give him a snout.
Yeah, exactly. Should have
Give him
given,
a snout,
but I feel like there was a little more pronounced like nose for a snout, and
There was.
I thought it was
says that they
hilarious. I thought it was-
wish Sandman
We're gonna vote
had the
for it.
green striped shirt. He did in one scene.
No,
Yeah.
he did in a few scenes.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
what he's talking about is like when he's in this form right here.
I did get a
Because
kick out-
if you notice in the Spider-Man comics, a lot of times when he's like shifting his form, he still looks like he has the shirt and everything on. I think that's what
yeah.
he's talking about.
I did
But I
get a
think that's
kick out of the
always been the
lizard
thing,
speaking like a proper English gentleman. That was like
yeah,
what
and
this-
them all being freaked out by it, like the dinosaur talks. Like
Yeah,
like,
right, yeah.
I do wish they had kept his lab coat that he had in like the one scene
Yeah.
from the last movie.
Mm-hmm.
That
Oh,
would have
yeah.
been really good.
What were you saying, Ashley?
Oh, that I think one of the whole points with the Raimi Sandman was that he couldn't have a human form. He was just always the Sand, and that was kind of his
Yeah.
Yeah.
tragedy that he couldn't like he couldn't
Mm-hmm.
hold his daughter again and stuff because he couldn't become corporeal again.
Right.
Yeah.
Couple more pictures I've got. What do we think of Marissa Tomei? I thought she knocked it out of the park.
Make
Yep.
Spencer
Yeah, the whole
start
part.
talking.
What?
Spencer's hardly said anything. Make Spencer start talking.
Spencer, what do you think of Marissa Tomei?
I think she
Good
did a
anime?
good job with what she had given.
Yep, I agree. Any other thoughts on Marissa Tomei? Anybody?
I think
That-
Ashley had one.
That interrogation scene was like that was interesting
Oh,
because
yeah.
the fact that he's like basically
Her
that the
and,
cop is like endangering the minor and everything.
Yep.
Like, oh, you're
That
you
was
know,
Yeah.
interesting.
yeah. It's
But
like,
her and MJ telling Peter, "Don't say anything without a
don't
lawyer."
get it without a lawyer.
And then Ned
Don't
just
get-
blows it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's why he's a bad best friend. Is because he's just it's because he's.
And
really-
What do we think of
Really?
Tom Holland's performance?
Oh, like I said, he's
Best
great.
performance yet. Like I noticed
agree.
one thing is that he doesn't do that like high pitched voice that he does in some of the other movies. He just kept it like more adult here, and he just felt much better.
Yep.
Do you think? Oh, go ahead, Kelly. What were you saying?
Well, I was gonna say, I do think that this is one of his better performances as Peter,
Yep.
but I do believe that he was outshined by both Andrew and Toby.
Yeah.
Andrew especially, I think. Yeah.
Andrew,
yeah.
Andrew especially, but like I said earlier about Toby's screen presence, and that is what made it so electrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Is just him being back on screen.
Yep.
Because like I said, on Thursday, I was in a 4DX showing, so these are people that are paying $30 a ticket to see this show, and people were jumping out of a moving seat, like a moving ride vehicle, for Toby. Like
Wow.
they were screaming and hooping and hollering, and it was almost any time he was on screen, there was nothing else. It was really funny because at one point, like somebody hooped and hollered about some little thing that was said, but the moment Toby started speaking, deathly quiet.
Yeah.
And that's my thing, is that like it does really bring up the point. I guess is another con that I didn't really think about it till right now, but it's he's a great actor. I love Tom Holland, but he doesn't hold a candle to the other two in
That's
terms
true.
of screen presence as Spider-Man and Peter Parker, because he almost, even though he was leading them, he almost took that little brother role.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's-
I give you that. I'll give you that. And when he
but-
assigned Tobey
The
Maguire
numbers?
Spider-Man 2, I'm like, no, he's Spider-Man 1. I mean,
Yeah.
come on, you're not.
Yeah.
I think that's why they did that as like a goof, as like a gag.
Right, but the other thing is too, it does lead into the idea, because if you think about the market, the way Sony marketed this thing, I mean, they deliberately tried to cut any references that Maguire and Garfield were coming back, to the point where they even digitally removed them out of that one shot where they're leaping and everything like this. But everybody knew they were going to be in this thing.
What do you think of the marketing of this? I suspect that scene with Andrew Garfield holding the railing was a Sony. I think Sony leaked it. I really did.
Yeah, probably.
I think they probably did.
Well, Kelly, why don't you think so?
No,
It went viral and everyone talked about it.
It did. They wanted to keep them secret, and they wanted to have that big, super huge, like in-game scene where the Avengers assembled scenes. That's what they wanted. They wanted that Infinity War where everybody, they wanted that movie magic. To the point that they almost weren't even going to do a whole lot of advertising for the movie. They actually were using TikTok and free things off TikTok. The issue is Sony has always not been the best about keeping secrets because they do outsource a lot of their
VF. Not with too, but bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is this is a part of it. I mean, because I knew almost everybody that was a part of the prop department and wardrobe and principal photography. And there's people I didn't even realize were there because they didn't talk to me. And they lied. Some of them straight up lied to me.
Right.
Which is great because obviously they shouldn't. I do this. I should not have special things. But like the thing on it though is like they were specifically told not to talk about it. And I don't see where Sony last minute would have done that because almost from the get-go, people saw Andrew in Atlanta and I straight up was like, no, because I'm being told that he's not on set. But like they saw him in Atlanta and they already knew. And that kind of snowballed into that of people wanting more and more and more information that yes, certain people probably did get bribed to leak this information out, and since they were third party or an intern or whatever, they felt like it was a big enough risk for their ego and their like internet cred to do it.
So you don't think it was Sony marketing? You think it was the people on the set?
I know for a fact it wasn't Sony marketing.
Okay.
And it wasn't people on set either. It's going to be your VFX artists and outsourced work.
It just seems so smart to what they've done, and it paid off in the fact that
they ought to be glad it leaked.
They should.
They should be.
Everybody already knew before that leak that they were going to be there. The only thing is that gave confirmation, but even then, certain things were going on where they said, hey, that looks photoshopped, that looks this looks that. Yeah. So there was a lot of denying, but no, this didn't come from Sony. This came from, like I said, a third-party VFX artist, particularly for those video leaks, the photo leaks, and then technically, too, let's be fair here, Jamie Foxx, of all people, when he first realized he had gotten, that they were doing it and they had asked him, before the ink was dry on his contract, he posted artwork that almost exactly mirrored the scene that they were fighting in. And that was just because that was a concept art they gave him to say, hey, we'd like you to come back as Electro. And he's like, great, post on Instagram. So everybody knew already. That's kind of the situations. Everyone knew. It's just because everyone knew and wanted more information, why those things leaked.
Now, I was telling George before we got on, like he basically, because he posted a thing about about Andrew Garfield kind of, deliberately lying and everything like this, which is fine. But I posted something like one of the things, like there was this thing like John Campea has his own YouTube thing, and he somehow attained the two photos of, one was showing the Matthew Cox's Daredevil in the kitchen. Well, not as Daredevil, as reprising roles with Matt Murdock in the kitchen, and the other one was the three Spider-Man together.
And those are real scenes.
And he was going off about trying to like throw in doubt, like, well, if you look at the shadow on Tobey Maguire's, nether regions or something, there may be some photoshopping going on or something. Like he was desperately trying to like throw like.
Well, John, I think the issue with John is John got those scenes for some exclusive later on down for marketing and then posted them too early and then got in trouble. And that's the situation, because I have a feeling they were going to leak it maybe a week or two before the movie, like they generally always do. And John messed it up for everybody.
Yeah,
So-
he did. Very much so. Yeah. But
I
it
got
was-
two more
yeah.
pictures. What do we think of Ned in the movie? Did we like Ned?
I
I did.
take it or leave him.
I mean,
I'm happy.
Yeah.
Genki is fun, and I'm gonna always call him Genki now because literally my nephew was the loudest person in the theater yesterday, and you talking about he screamed Genki. That means Miles is here, and I'm like, you've watched all of the movies, you know that's Ned. I don't.
Yeah.
But all right.
Honestly, like I thought he was better in this movie, but I wouldn't be upset if we don't see him again.
Oh,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
God.
I
I
hope we
like
don't.
Lola again.
My greatest fear is because every time like you see it mentioned in media, and here's the thing: when I say media, and Brad gets triggered by people saying media, by the way, because
We're
they
not a
tend to-
hive mind.
because they tend to lump local into there as well, and to be fair about that, my local news coverage is garbage here in North Texas. It is anyway. So I went off on that rant and I forgot what I was going to say.
You're not saying it with
Blame the
Ned
media.
Holland.
No,
you were
no,
blaming
no.
the media for everything. Go ahead.
Like you see, like how the media will talk about comic book movies and comics in general, and they will give you they'll take whatever's easiest to find when they hit Google,
Yeah.
and that's their truth, right? So
I think that's more than the media, but go ahead.
well, it is, but I'm talking about the media because that's where people go to read shit, Brad.
Well, they
All
don't
right,
read it
so-
just. Okay, never mind. I'm not going to get on a media.
I mean, if you want to turn this into a trial on the media, I'm down.
I'm good. I'm
We're good to go, brother. I mean,
I don't know if we have time for that, George.
all right. So, what I'm most concerned with is the people out there who go, "Oh, Ned's going to be the Hobgoblin. Ned's going to be the Hobgoblin," and we even had it pop up into this show
Yeah.
where somebody was like, "Oh, he's going to be the Hobgoblin." I'm like, Ned Leeds is not the Hobgoblin.
Yeah, that's
Ned Leeds was put into the Hobgoblin costume in time to get murdered.
That's true.
That's where his connection to the Hobgoblin starts and ends. Bruce, tell him I'm right.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
So my greatest concern is that that's what they're going to try to do, and instead of a proper Roderick Kingsley with an ascot Hobgoblin, we're going to get Tubby Genki Ned, who can maybe do some magic.
I cannot
trying to keep balanced on a glider that wasn't built for him.
He's
and
the
his
magic guy
mother's
in the
fault.
chair.
I can't see Ned becoming the god. This Ned especially.
I am praying to Christ that that's not what happens.
No.
Last picture I have. What do we think of Doctor Strange? We've had Nick Fury and we've had Tony Stark and the Marvel Team Up Cinematic Universe. What do we think of Doctor Strange? I thought he worked the best of the three.
I will say I think the reason he does work the best is because he doesn't treat Peter like a child.
That's true.
Yeah,
In fact, he gets annoyed with him, but also too, he's actually not in the movie for very long. And two, what I love is I love the fact that they had put him out originally saying, yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch is going to be the new, his Doctor Strange is going to be Peter's new mentor. And we got all mad about it. Yeah. But he's the only thing that he really mentors Peter in is don't be stupid. Mm-hmm. And then as he proceeds to do stupid things too. And that's it.
Yeah. Now, here's the question I do have for everybody, I think, is do you think Strange was actually right? In terms we still have to send these back because technically, with the multiverse breaking apart, it's the needs of the many outweigh the few kind of thing.
I do think he has a point, but I mean, Spider-Man's going to Spider-Man and save everybody.
Yes, but I also too though I do think we did. That kind of brings back to where Brad wanted the let's see everybody made it home safely thing because for all we know, they went back to their original timeline and died. Unfortunately, because they were all at their last moments.
The whole point was to give them a fighting chance, though, to kind of give them one last moment to be to surrender, to save themselves, basically. So it's just to give them the second chance, and whether it actually works or not, that's out of their hands.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying though is if they all go back to their just last before moments in their original timeline, it doesn't really give them a whole lot of chance to convince Peter or or a glider gets put in your chest, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't necessarily change that. So in that manner, like if you're thinking of it in that way, because we don't know how that works.
Mm-hmm.
If it does work in that way, where it's like, oh, they go immediately back in their original timeline body and they die anyway, that's almost basically just saying like, hey, you're a aging out, like, you know, you're a very old or sick dog, and this is your last day on Earth. Here's a great treat.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not. I don't like that either. And that's where like there's a lot of possible issues I have with the movie, because we don't know what that was meant for.
Open to interpretation.
So, I've got three more bullet points I want to get from the panels. What?
He wants to talk about Doctor Strange.
Yes. All right. So we talked earlier about how Doctor Strange was not done any favors with this film.
Okay.
Number 2, Brad, you have always wanted a Hulk Spidey
Yes.
team-up movie. I have always wanted a Doctor Strange Spidey team-up movie, and was sorely disappointed on that level.
Spidey, I thought the fight. You said the fight was cool with him.
No, I mean it was interesting. I like that Peter kind of came into his own by using science to defeat Doctor Strange and on his own turf.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I did enjoy that as a Spider-Man fan.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that a lot of them. Now, as to the Doctor Strange, not having a problem with sending them back to die. Doctor Strange is the sorcerer supreme of the dimension that he's in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's kind of like Matt Dillon from Gunsmoke.
Yeah,
Of their universe, and on that level, he's like, no, these guys got to go. Sorry if you're gonna die, but I don't want you here. You can't be here.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that from that standpoint. Plus, also, when you look at the stuff that Doctor Strange dealt with during Infinity War and Endgame, it wasn't the same as what Peter was going through. Remember that one part where Strange was like moving his head around because he was looking at every possibility of that fight, 16 million something possibilities, and he came up with one where they would win.
Yeah.
Dude knows from stakes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of, that meshes with him. It's not necessarily a callous thing. He's like, look, I get it. It's terrible. I'm sorry you're going to die. You can't be here.
Mm-hmm.
This place is my responsibility. That place that you came from, that's somebody else's. Too effing bad. Bye.
Keep up the pillars of reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get Strange from that standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
3 more questions, and then we're going to wrap it up. My question is, where do we go from here? What villains and what MCU person will team up with them?
I want to go
in the
first.
next film.
I want to say something. I want to say something real quick because it was something I was going to say earlier, but I didn't. I'm hoping what I think is going to happen, and what I hope happens, is that we're done with the motor mouth jackass with ADD Spider-Man. I'm hoping we go now that he's going
puppy. Yeah.
Now that he's going into college, we're gonna have a more level-headed, more thinking. Less speaking out loud, more listening. Kind of Spider-Man. A more mature, not necessarily a grown up. I mean, he's going to be a college kid, but at least a more mature.
My first question to JR: where do we go from now? What villains? And if there's another MCU hero, who is in it? JR.
Well, to be honest, I think the Black Cat is almost a certainty to show up because
I'm there too.
They'll be looking for another romantic interest.
And I have a prediction. I'll go after JR.
Okay, and story wise, he's probably thinking, he'd probably be open to somebody like the Black Cat who he thought could survive his lifestyle, whereas someone like MJ or whatever wouldn't, but Felicia would be able to. So I figure we're going to get, and plus Sony's been trying to get the Black Cat going for a while anyway, so I think we're going to see the Black Cat.
MCU hero you think will guest star?
Oh Lord, frankly I would hope none. I mean, I don't have any.
Sony does. Sony wants one.
Yeah, well, Riri Williams. There we go.
Oh God,
dude! If they eventually get around to bringing in Black Cat into the Holland Spider-Man stuff, oh my God, I want them to bring in the Kingpin.
Oh,
I was going to say.
Yeah.
I would
God.
They could totally do that with the
Daredevil team up, definitely. I mean, if Charlie Cox is there, I think
Daredevil,
I think a Spider-Man Daredevil team up is a must.
They're gonna have to PG-13 Vincent D'Onofrio down though. He can't smash anyone's head in the car.
Right.
We'll see. I have a theory, and I'll go after.
Yeah,
Ashley.
go ahead.
Ashley
A-
first.
Ashley wanted to go next. Go
We were
ahead.
talking about Black Cat, so
Yeah.
that is me. So yeah, I like JR said, I definitely see the door opening for Black Cat, just because narratively it makes perfect sense for where Peter's at.
Yeah.
You know, with him being nearly single again and also kind of fresh out of a committed relationship, it's kind of an opening to meet someone new. And
Maybe we have a romantic triangle where he's trying to date MJ and get him to like her.
oh, I'm sure they'll make it very messy. It can't
Yeah,
not
I mean,
be messy.
I mean, yeah, it'd be the conflict because he's still got these feelings for MJ, and then this other woman is like throwing herself at him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so,
And exactly, all the seeds are there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But Jack put this idea in my head, and I've not been able to stop thinking about it.
Scientology?
Yes, and I'd like to talk to you all today about the Church of Scientology and how
Oh,
it's
Lord.
changed my life. No, Liz Allen as Black Cat potentially instead of Felicia Hardy. No, she's got the dad in jail, and she's kind
Oh,
of
that's
got
true. Yeah.
a bit of
right.
backstory
Yeah.
for it.
That's true.
Yeah,
I
And,
hope not. I want it to be Felicia
But
Hardy.
I feel like they would probably bring her in as like the Vultress because they technically kind of.
I don't want that
they
either.
could do
I want
it.
that.
It
I want
would
Felicia
be-
Hardy in a black cat suit.
I
Yeah.
know, me too. But I'm just
Oh,
in
damn.
general.
I want a proper black cat.
I will
Anna
say,
Taylor Joy. Who is
Black
is
Cat
that? Is
is
that
just
the
a different take on it.
King's Gambit?
So
No,
last-
Anya Taylor-Joy is. I don't see her as
She-
Black Cat.
yeah, no. Although last night in Soho was really good.
Yeah. She
If
was
that's what they're
magic
basing
in
it
New
off.
Mutants. If you saw that,
Yeah,
Brad.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think they would do Felicia Hardy and do because I think they probably would want to spin that character off anyway. So I don't think we're going to get a pseudo Black Cat or anything like
Yeah,
that. You know,
I
like
hope
Liz,
not.
like
Yeah.
Liz being the Black Cat. I think it would
I just
truly
see
be
some things
Felicia
in her
Hardy.
background. Like I said, I don't, I'm not entirely sold on it, but I can't stop thinking about it, and I just think it's
Yeah.
very interesting.
No, it's an interesting concept, and it also ties into when they were trying to do Felicia Hardy as the Vultress in Raimi's Spider-Man 4. But I wanted to say, like, I do actually think that if they keep, since they're gonna still kind of be in the MCU universe, what I would like to see would be the Defenders minus Iron Fist coming back with Spider-Man and actually kind of doing more of your grounded based neighborhood shoot 'em ups. Like I think somebody in the comments had written Tombstone as a villain
That
for
would
them
be
to
good.
kind of all go after, especially if they do a like where Kingpin's fighting other mobsters to be the Kingpin of New York.
Hammerhead, Silvermane.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
want to see Hammerhead.
That's the stuff that I would like to see, especially because
Yeah.
then you would, because I know everybody wants, Jessica Jones to come back. You want to see Luke Cage. I think that would be the better place to have it, like in a movie setting where they still did the TV series on Disney Plus with those characters individually, but maybe they all come together and that's how they meet Spidey. But I do feel, like I said, they've kind of written themselves into a hole. So unless they want to reverse everything and kind of backtrack with more magic and mystical crap, which I feel like that's probably what they'll lean towards versus let's just get into the dark
Not
and gritty,
necessarily.
like let's get into the bread and butter of what makes Spider-Man Spider-Man, but that's what I would like to see.
Yeah.
I
The
can
other
see them
thing-
going
the-
with a more street level
Yeah.
aesthetic, that more realistic approach. Because I mean, you said it yourself, Kelly. You're super tired. You're getting fatigued.
Yeah.
You're getting Marvel fatigue.
I am.
So, and what I've seen that they do when that fatigue starts hitting is they go in a different direction. So instead of going big magic, lots of supernatural sci-fi stuff, they go for more realistic and more. They change the tone. So they might do that with Spider-Man.
The
hope so.
one villain that I can easily see them bring in, and I think they've been itching to do this for a while, is bring in Kraven the Hunter. Because
yeah.
they want to do some kind of version of
They've already
Kraven's
cast
Hunt.
the actor for the solo
Yeah.
movie,
Quicksilver.
which is Quicksilver. Yeah.
But you can tie that, but you can also tie him into that or something like that. But I can see them wanting to do something along that line. Also, I can totally see them trying to do like a version of the black costume thing now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
They've literally set it up now. The
they
symbiote is literally in the universe,
Mhm.
and I hope that means not only we get a proper Venom, like not a Tom Hardy Venom, not a Topher Grace Venom, like a proper Venom. But also, I want to see a proper black suit. I want to not Spider-Man 3 just recolor. I want the proper all black suit with the white logo and the hand patches. I want to see a cinematic version of that so bad.
But like I said, they could do something like on the lines of like if Sony what they do is they could somehow do like, you know, somehow they really wanted to tie in like the other like Sony's of like the more like Morbius and Craven, upcoming Craven thing. They wanted somehow bring, you know, have like something involved there or whatever it is. But the other thing they could do is, I mean, we were talking stuff about possible cameos. I mean, we mentioned about Kingpin and Daredevil. I think that's kind of a given at some point. Like have a like if they have like Spider-Man, like maybe a big cameo appearance in like the Echo series, because I know that Kingpin and Daredevil is supposed to appear in that one coming up eventually. They could also do something like with Moon Knight, like have, you know, him show up or something. Yeah.
Let's Bruce, where do we go from that here? The villains you'd like to see, and who from the MCU would be a guest star? Who do you like?
I don't look forward to any other heroes really teaming up at this point. I'm on board with Kraven the Hunter, you know, one of the classic villains again. And I'd like to see some of the street level things, but they have to make them so general to make their billions of dollars. You know, this is the third highest grossing opening weekend of all time behind the other two Avenger movies. But so it's hard to go, you know, to a micro level like that. You know, I'm looking forward to the fan film that's coming out later this coming year, Spider-Man Lotus, because it will be, you know, just like the comic book stories from what I'm hearing. And that's ones that we would enjoy as comic book fans. You know, I've been with Spidey since 1967 cartoon. But I think that we're going to see some, you know, pretty amazing villains, no pun intended, you know, some of the big heavy hitters. And, you know, it's going to be hard to get down to a street level, you know, as much as we like to see it. I enjoyed all those comics growing up, you know, with Hammerhead and Kingpin and things like that. But I just think that the money making machine is going to keep on cranking out, you know, some really, you know, earth shattering level villains of some type.
Spencer, what where do you want to go from now? What villains and what MCU hero?
I prefer if there weren't any other MCU heroes, unless like Daredevil, or maybe like smaller, I guess, street level heroes. Maybe a Hawkeye can show up if you really want to,
or Kate Bishop.
But yeah, it looks like he's gone be more street level, like he should be. So if any hero does show up, it should be near his power level. I don't want Captain Marvel coming down here and asking him to go into space or something like a
same.
I think like Kraven would be good. I also think Scorpion, since
they set him up for it, but
so I think Scorpion would be good.
JR, we have a question for you. What's the figure next to the Goblin? That's Willem Dafoe, isn't it, from Spider-Man 1? Here,
it's the Norman Osborn figure from the first film. Where
formula.
It comes with the chair, the talking chair. You know, so.
As not seen since Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Cherry. I don't know. Spencer should recognize this one because this is a walkie-talkie.
I remember those.
Yeah,
here, let me full screen you again. Hold it up to your ear. How do you talk in it?
Well, you got to talk with the other one's the Spider-Man one.
Yeah,
so
I remember those.
You have the Spider-Man one and the Green Goblin one. I think Spencer and I tried these out, and they didn't work too well. And then this one here is the higher end one. There's also one of Toby. Like you take it off and there's Willem's face. And then there's one with a Spider-Man one with Toby too. So,
hey JR, if Defoe ever comes back in another 20 years, you'll get an action figure where you can change the diaper.
He will be reclining in the chair on that one.
I suspect in 20 years, if Willem Dafoe's still alive, he probably is going to be in pretty decent shape.
I would agree.
I would agree.
He's one of those guys like Shatner or whatever that seems to be kind of a force of nature.
This part I want you guys to go really fast. I'm going to go around the horn. I want you guys to rank your top 3 Spider movies after seeing this one. Top 3 Spider movies. Mike, go.
Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and
number 2.
One.
And
It's
this one,
B3.
okay.
Yeah.
Kelly, what's your top 3? Start with your number 1.
Into the Spider-Verse,
Okay.
Raimi's Spider-Man, then this movie.
Spider-Man 2 is not
I'll
up
give
there?
it 3.
Spider-Man 2 's not in there?
It's tough. To me, this is on par with Spider-Man 2 because Spider-Man 2 has never been my favorite Spider-Man movie. I've always preferred 1 because it has Green Goblin. I don't like Doc Ock. I thought we've established this.
It's okay. It's okay. George, Spider-Verse number 1 for you, right? Oh wait, you've not seen.
I don't count Into the Spider-Verse as a Spider-Man film.
Okay.
Okay.
What are your
so
3? Top
I'm
3.
just going off of the live action. So my new top 3
Ooh.
are No Way Home
Is number 1?
is number 1 for me now.
Oh, wow.
And,
Whoa.
followed by Spider-Man 2 and then Spider-Man.
Oh wow.
Unseated.
Wow, that's amazing.
All right,
That is
JR, where are
amazing.
we ranking?
Listen, Jack.
Oh.
All right.
Listen,
All right.
my name's Brad. I'm not Jack. What are you?
No, I'm talking to McNulty. All right. Look,
Okay.
this movie.
His
this
name's
movie,
not Jack either.
This
The only
movie had
Jack here's
so
with
many.
Ashley.
This movie had so many emotional beats. I lost track.
That is true. That is
And
true. I will give you
there
that.
was a couple of times when I cried my full head off. So you're damn right. This edges
Hey,
out
I'm not-
Spider-Man 2 for me.
Hey, I'm not arguing. It's still a pretty. I mean, it's. Still,
I will
it's good
find
company.
you
Yeah.
and rain down blows.
Blow?
I like McNulty. I would.
Yeah.
All right. JR, your top 3.
Probably Raimi's Spider-Man 1. Then this one probably be number 2, and then maybe Spider-Man 2 would be number 3.
This is a very Defoe biased list.
Yes, it is.
Well, and it should
Yeah,
be.
George,
Well,
you
and,
think
why,
anything
and,
else?
and you would be surprised why or how, So.
By the way,
Well,
Mr.
I mean,
Comics
the
says,
original
George, you are
Spider-Man though
blowing
is
my
a great
mind.
comic book movie. It's a comic book movie,
Right.
and was so and yeah, I mean, part of it is because Defoe just, I mean, he's fun to watch. I mean, it's like they just wound him up and he had a blast. So
Ashley, your top 3.
Into the Spider-Verse is still number 1. It's between Spider-Man 1 and No Way Home for me. They're kind of tied. I'm going to have to go through frame by frame and compare which one has more Willem Dafoe screen time. Decide who's the
Fair.
victor.
Yes.
But no, I want to say No Way Home, but I am a very music-oriented person, and the soundtrack can really make or break a movie for me, and nothing that the MCU or that even No Way Home has done can top Danny Elfman's theme for the
Yes.
Raimi movies, and
Yes.
that's just, I can't definitively say that No Way Home is better when it doesn't have anything to compete with that. So I think
You're just a
they're
Chad
honestly just
Kroger
tied.
fangirl.
What?
Hey, okay.
You're just a Chad Kroger fangirl.
I,
Oh my god, it's like I was in band or something.
Yeah. Also, I might have blasted that song all the way home after seeing it on Thursday night.
It's a
The hero song?
it's a good song.
It is a great song.
It's a good song, even though it's from Nickelback.
Yeah,
That's
that's
true.
right. Yeah. It's very true.
Spencer, your top 3.
Raimi's Spider-Man 2, then Raimi's Spider-Man 1, and then No Way Home.
Wow, good job. Tyler.
Hang on. What were you saying, Ashley? You trailed off something. Did we cut you off earlier?
What?
Ashley, you grumbled something when we went to Spencer. I thought like
I
we
said,
had
I
like
never said my third one. I
Oh,
said
I'm so
those two were
sorry.
tied
yeah,
for
that's what I was
second.
going for. Yeah.
My
And
bad.
then Spider-Man 2 is third.
Okay.
Okay.
That's all. Thank you.
Okay,
George.
Spencer, if I
You're
remember,
welcome.
Spider-Man 2, number 1, and Spider-Verse. Is that what you said?
Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 1, and then No Way Home.
No Way Home. Okay. Tyler, your top 3.
My thoughts mirror Kelly's exactly. Into the Spider-Verse is number 1. I'm a huge animation fan, and then animation was gorgeous. The like that Into the Spider-Verse for me is a perfect movie.
Yeah.
It's a perfect movie.
It
And
is.
so,
It's technically a perfect movie.
It's
Like
so good.
Mhm.
And
And
yeah,
even
and
the
then,
music.
and then followed by Spider-Man 1, just because it's not perfect for me, but it's Defoe is amazing as the villain, and just it's a comic book movie like JR said. And then third would be No Way Home, with just
Yeah.
because I'm not as huge of a fan as Spider-Man 2 as a lot of people, and just No Way Home is just delivers on so many fronts.
Bruce, your top 3.
Well, like I said, I've been around watching all these live action Spidey since the '60s and struggled through all that in my youth. So I'm in love with all of them, but I just can't see the Spider-Verse one. I loved it, the story, but to me it wasn't like George says, it's not live action. So I'm going with the live action only. Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 1, and No Way Home. I'm going along with Spencer.
Okay.
Spencer and I have the same picks.
Mine's
I'm
been
gonna
going.
go. Number 1 is Spider-Man 2. Number 2 is Spider-Man 1. And I am back and forth with Spider-Verse in this one. But I think I like Spider-Verse better.
Well, I mean, they're similar in very much ways. I mean, they're both multiverse kind of films.
I think what I like about Spider-Verse a little bit more, it has a little bit more Mary Jane, classic, like I like it. It has, and the animation, like you all said, but Spider had a great soundtrack, Ashley. That one had better music, just great music.
It's not even about Peter Parker, though. It's about
It's
you know,
not. It's not.
Technically, it's about Spider-Man, not
George, you haven't
Peter
seen it.
Parker, but yeah.
And I won't.
The best Spider-Man movie, not the best Peter Parker movie.
Well, there you go.
Peter
Ashley's
Parker
got me.
is Spider-Man. Peter
Okay,
Parker is the only
last-
Spider-Man, except no others.
The last
Yes.
bullet point that we're going to end the show on.
Jesus, how many of these do you have?
This is
Keep ending on? I feel like we tried to end this an hour ago.
Hence
just
why I
said the
said
last
the
one.
last.
God Almighty!
This is the last, and I have a funny story to tell, and I thought maybe some of you, if you don't, it's okay. Funny theater moments. Let me go first with mine. The movie was. Did anybody have to pee in the middle of it besides me?
No,
I
never.
did.
No,
I
I
did.
did.
2.5
I
movies.
did.
My
I
God.
did.
So at the very end, I'm in the restroom. There's a line forming. So the guys usually don't have a line forming. And then as I'm waiting, this little 3-year-old I see with light up shoes under the stall. He's talking to his dad really loud. And I hear the quote, "Dad, not this type of poop again," is what I hear. And I'm like losing it. I am laughing so hard. That was almost as high up on the list as when Spider-Man 3, the theaters, when Peter smacks Mary Jane and he goes, "Damn, Spider-Man smacked a bitch." That was one of
So
the.
your funny Spider-Man theater moment comes from the John.
It does. The light up
right.
shoe kid with diarrhea killed it for me. I
Okay.
thought that was funny.
Okay.
Mike or anybody else who would like to go? Anybody guys who can top the diarrhea story? Go,
Uh,
Kat.
Go defer to Kelly.
Okay,
I'm not
I
very
don't think
good.
anyone can top that in terms of that. But a cute moment that I have is just
Yeah.
before the movie, our movie started. Some kids were getting out of one of the previous ones, and some guy showed up in head to toe Miles and is like not meaning to be in character because he's just kind of like listening to his headphones and chilling. But this little kid comes running out. He sees me in my Spider-Girl onesie because I was just wearing the pajamas
Yeah.
because it was 11 o'clock at night and I was tired. And so first he stops it dead set, looks at me and goes, "Spider-Man." And I'm like, "Yeah, kid." And then he goes back to running because he's such a small kid and he sees Miles. And I'm talking about like he runs past him and then backs up, looks, turns to me, then turns to his parents and goes, "It's Spider-Man." And meanwhile, this Miles Morales cosplayer has absolutely no idea what's going on because whatever is like in his headphones and on his phone is that.
Yeah.
But that killed me because I was like, that's
funny.
hilarious. Like
That's
he
so
was
cute.
just like he. In fairness, it was a great Miles cosplay. So like he thought that really was Miles waiting to get into the movie.
That's so funny. George, you got a funny theater moment? Anything happen besides that woman screaming? I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah. So I raised my hand on who had to go to the bathroom, but I didn't go to the bathroom. I tied a knot in it and did the
Wow.
did the pee-pee dance because I didn't want to miss a damn minute of it. All
You
right,
know what?
I'm in my Reclino XD Cinemark, Reclino liner or whatever that thing that reclines all the way back,
The
sitting
Recliner
there
3000.
moving my legs like I'm a goddamn rabbit, while my eyes are yellow. All right, so I didn't get up to go to the bathroom, but
I hate when that happens.
this isn't really a funny story. This is more of a "oh my God, George, you're getting so old" moment. So I've realized now here as I'm almost 50 next year, right? Why old people fall down all the damn time. All right. And one of it is like when I'm trying to get into the tub now, sometimes I don't lift my foot high enough to clear the top of the tub when I'm getting in.
Okay.
And this
Where's
is becoming
going?
this is becoming a thing now. Like
Okay.
whenever there's something to step over, a lot of times in my seasoned years, I am not raising my foot high enough
Your
to clear whatever
estimation
the
of
hell it
distance
is.
is lacking. Yeah.
And so, and I've been trying to like purposefully work on it. I mean, like, remember, you're an old man now. You got to lift your leg, right? So,
Okay.
Like a dog.
so the movie comes out. It's glorious. I'm crying. The credits go. Doctor Strange, all that good stuff. Time to leave. I've got my empty bucket. I've got my empty M&M case. I've got my empty soda thing, right? And I only get a medium soda now because I am an old man and I can't do the large drink, if you get my drift. All right. So I go outside, hit the bathroom, throw my trash away. And then suddenly I'm like, oh God, I forgot my really nice wool knit cap inside the theater. I've got to go back in and get it. So I go back into the theater. I'm climbing the stairs. And this is, I'm going to blame you, Douglas, because my original ticket was.
I wasn't even there.
My original ticket was for tonight at 7.
Oh, that's
and I
right,
would have
yeah.
had a much safer positioning. So I'm climbing up the stairs to get there to my aisle, and sure enough, senile George, my leg does not clear. My foot does not clear the corner step. I fall and I land right below my knee on where the next step, forms the corner.
Ow,
And I go down hard, right? Like I'm like, oh,
like Willem Dafoe kicked you.
And it's just me in the theater because the theater is emptied out now. And I'm like, this is how I go out. This is how I'm going to die. I've broken
Cause of
my
death,
leg.
Douglas is what you're going to put.
I'm going to die of gangrene before anyone finds me. And by before anyone finds me, I mean when the ushers come in to clean the theater, probably in like 5 minutes.
Man.
And so it was a harrowing stuff. Look at Ashley laughing. Like she wants me to die. I thought we were friends.
I know what I'm kind of thinking, George. I'm like, it's like
this ought to be good.
redemption arc. You finally come around to the MCU movie, and then that's it. It's time for you to go.
And it's time for me to die? Wow,
That's how
Ashley.
it goes out.
Jesus.
Ashley's dark. I love it.
Think about the narrative, George.
Adam's also dark. He says at least you died after seeing the movie.
But I mean, like it's weird. This movie. We got a snort.
We got the snort.
We got a snort. Reset the snort counter. We've had an incident. But I did come away out of this movie like rethinking some things, and there was a part of me was like maybe I need to go back and watch the Venom movies. But by the time I got to my car, I was like I talked myself out of that.
That's okay.
You're good.
Yeah,
You're good.
yeah, I talked myself out of that.
JR, any funny? Did you hurt yourself?
Stop that, JR.
Did you hurt yourself?
No.
Not this time.
No funny moments?
There were no funny moments. I went to a very early show on Friday, specifically to avoid as much of humanity as I could. But to be honest, though, no matter what moments I may have in a theater now, they're going to be hard to press to match two moments that I had in the past. One in 2004, when I took a little blonde 9-year-old girl to a midnight showing of Spider-Man 2.
Aww.
And in 2012, when I took a 10-year-old boy to see a midnight show of The Amazing Spider-Man. So those are, I don't know if anything's ever going to beat those moments.
Spencer, what's it like to see Spider-Man movie with your dad?
Well,
Did
it goes
you guys
from
see
like
this
kind of
together,
like
by
us
the way?
like talking in the car.
No, he went and saw.
I'm still in Michigan.
He's still in Michigan.
Okay, but go ahead. What's it like to see a Spider-Man movie with your dad?
Well, it usually starts out with us being anticipated. Like we kind of talk on our way to the theater, like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen. And he talks about some things he's heard, about things I heard. Then we sit down, and then it usually starts with us watching the trailers, and then Dad goes, "That looks like a dumpster fire. That looks like trash. I ain't gonna see that." Oh, that looks okay.
That tracks. That's how
the remake original
JR's hot takes live.
Yes.
He probably would have said that when he saw the
And
Morbius
usually
trailer.
when something cool happens.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, Dad. What were you like when you saw the Morbius trailer?
It's like well, passing on this shit.
Right.
But yeah. There's
any
nothing
funny-
appealing about that movie. Nothing looks appealing about
I want to see that now.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Everybody. I give everyone. I mean, obviously, I don't work for Sony and do not heed this as legal advice, but I give everybody a free pass to torrent the crap out of Morbius if you really want to see it, because Jared Leto is a piece of trash.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah.
We've told that story before.
I have.
What did Jared Leto do? I mean, other than
There's a lot of story. There's a lot of stories, but I have a personal thing where he left a bruise on my arm. So
did he?
Yes.
Yeah, that's bad. I mean, it's not bad as getting the Joker totally wrong, but that is bad.
That's true. Spencer, anything funny happened in your theater when you saw it?
Yeah, okay, so I went to the premiere in this whole thing because I had to. As my duty as a fan, I had to. My responsibility, in fact.
There you go.
With great powers.
I come in, I'm the only one in this whole theater in a costume, which I thought was kind of surprising, but then it's also like, well, I'm the only cool one here then, since I look different.
Your costume looks good.
Everyone,
really good.
Oh, thank you. No, everyone the line is packed just to get popcorn. So while we're waiting in line, me and my girlfriend and I, everyone's just asking, "Hey, can I get a picture?" And we move like slugs 1 inch to get to the popcorn. It's like, "Hey man, can I get a picture?" Yeah, sure, dude. And it's like, okay. And then it's like, can I get my popcorn now? No, okay. Your kid wants like another picture, fine. Which is cool, but it's like, I want to eat, I want to sit. But no.
Did your girlfriend dress up too?
And then, yeah, she stole my Spider-Man Christmas sweater and wore that.
That's cute.
And I, like everyone else, I did not go to the bathroom the whole movie. I did not want to miss a thing. Except when the movie was over, I realized I may not be able to go on my own and get out of this costume on my own. So
I didn't even think about that.
Afterwards, I'm like, babe, I have to pee. This is a U-zipper. I can't reach back here. And she's like,
I hate this is why you don't do U-zippers.
I'm like, okay.
This ends in jail, right?
Spencer dies because he can't pee. This is.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was asking you all to go see a movie. This is.
I have the mask on. We get into the stall. She unzips me and she's like, "I have to go too. Just go right now." I'm like, okay. So then I finish. She zips me back up. She's like, "Just wait in here. It's going to look weird if Spider-Man comes out by himself in the women's restroom." I'm like, okay.
So you
I'll
went
sit
into the
on
women's restroom so the girl could
couches,
unzip
which
you?
you guys have for some reason and we don't. So when she gets done, we walk
For
out.
nursing mothers.
Yeah.
I'm confused. You went into the women's restroom so the girl could unzip you out of the suit? Is that what I heard?
Yeah, she had to unzip me out of the suit because I couldn't leave.
Yeah.
Wow. Spencer.
Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
she's like,
George almost died. You had to go in the women's restroom to
and then we'll
unzip.
leave.
That's going to end in jail,
and the
George.
women's restroom is facing another theater which just had their showing of the movie finished. So when we walk out together, there's this family of women just all circling the women's restroom, and they just look in horror and shock as Spider-Man just comes in, and I don't know how to react when grown women are looking at a man
because they're assuming you're a dude that walked in to drop a deuce. That's why. When if you go in a women's bathroom, it's all like flowery and there's like a fainting couch and all that.
No, there's not. Okay, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I've seen cleaner men's restrooms than I have most women restrooms.
Oh, every woman's restroom I've been in, there's like a little couch.
How many of you been in?
Plants. There's like a little couch and plants. The whole thing smells like lavender.
Okay, but how many times have y'all found blood in the toilet?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Oh my God.
Can we move on?
Yes.
All right.
I didn't know how to react when full-grown women and moms are looking at me. So
there we go.
I know how to act when full-grown moms are looking at me.
Oh God. Okay, where were we?
I didn't know how to react. So the thing I did was, hey, you guys got couches, and then I walked off.
See?
Were there really
Some-
couches?
Ashley,
Some
what
restrooms-
does Atlanta just not have couches in their women's
Some
restrooms?
women's restrooms have couches, and they're for women who are breastfeeding or who need to feed
Yeah,
their
this is
babies. That is what I have learned personally.
George,
Yeah.
you called it a fainting couch. Does that mean you just pass out? What is
Or
a
what-
fainting couch?
No, my mom told me that. Like, okay, so the first time that happened, I was a kid at Dillard's, right? My mom had drugged me out there to buy some godforsaken corduroy pants that she used to think I used to look cute in, but I hated them. It was like torture. Anyway, so she drugged me to Dillard's, corduroy pants. I accidentally went into the women's bathroom. I was at that age when, mom was like, okay, I'll just kind of hover around. You can go into the bathroom like a big boy. Except I went into the women's restroom, not the men's. And shit, there's like floral arrangements. There's like a divan right there, and I didn't even know what a divan was, but it's like a couch with like a little curved in and everything. The whole motherfucking thing smelled like perfume.
George.
Right? No, listen, this is a seminal moment of my life, Brad, because this broke reality for me. Because as a little kid, whenever I walked into a men's room, number one, it smelled like turds. Right? It smelled awful, right? And then it was dirty. This thing was immaculately clean. You could have eaten off the counter.
It
in
sounds
the
like
women's
Ashley and
restroom.
Kelly have never been in that restroom you're describing.
And I came.
Well, no,
and
I mean, there's like Dillard's and stuff for the 90s, but like most of them have been renovated where they don't have those anymore.
And I came out and I came out of there. I came out of there to find my mom, and I had legitimate questions. and I asked my mom, I was like, "Why the hell?" I didn't say hell because I was a little kid. Why is there a or a couch in the ladies' restroom? And my mom said, "In case they feel like fainting." Yeah. I think that was her way of saying.
Okay.
I think that was her way of not having to explain other lady business.
All right, Tyler, funny theater memories. We got you got unzipped. We got people fainting. We got blood.
This
we
is not
got
going to compare to. This is not going to compare to any of those. This is just like other than our typical audience reactions for some of the movie, like people gasping with Toby and Andrew and the meme line, something of a scientist myself. A lot of reaction to that.
Yeah,
I did find it amusing that right at the end, while we're waiting through the credits, when that Avi Arad self pat on the back message came up on screen.
Saw that.
Not me and a lot of other people just groaned in the theater. And so just so
dedicated to Avi Arad.
That's funny.
Yeah, the original true believer is what he called himself.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm. Because that was they had to put that in because of the fact
they didn't have to.
Yeah, well, because
Now,
I don't
the
see it.
first one. So they
You didn't see that credit?
I saw it.
Oh wait.
It was at the end credits.
It was in the
basically
credits.
after
It came up
At the
all
end
by
credits,
itself.
they had a thank you to
Dedicated
Dan
to-
Slott and Straczynski.
Oh yeah. I
But
mean,
there was a big one.
I blacked the Dan Slott thing out. Although I will say, apparently on Twitter, somebody said something like, "Man, why did Dan Slott have to be in front of JMS?"
Because they probably give him credit for Spider-Verse, which is kind of this kind of reference
Which-
to.
yeah,
It looked like it was alphabetical.
It was alphabetical, but
Ah,
the
gotcha.
issue is that
Yeah.
he apparently Dan Slott took that personally.
Of course he did.
By somebody saying man, I wish that it had gone in a different order.
Oh,
Mhm.
good.
Then the
Good
alphabet.
grief.
Yeah,
What
the
a-
alphabet,
what a
order of
child.
importance, and I think he realized that
Uh-huh.
otherwise he'd be not on there. So
Yeah.
Good grief.
We have Bruce. Bruce, did you go in costume to the show?
I did. I started
Okay.
doing that 20 years ago at the first movie.
Oh, that's
and,
cool.
and
Nice.
they've asked me to come back every year in Johnstown Spider-Man. So I went. Well, I didn't watch it in costume. I waited till the credits started to roll, and then I jumped into costume for the evening crowd that was coming in. And what was kind of funny is I'm out in the lobby, like Spencer was, and people were taking pictures, and that was the reason I was there. But the ticket taker kept, asking people what movie they're going to. So I just kept hearing Spider-Man. So I'd turn my head every other second. Spider-Man. I was saying that. Someone over, I said, "You got to stop saying Spider-Man with these tickets." And I also joked around with some of the people there. Asked them if they were going to see West Side Story or things like that.
and nobody going to see West Side Story.
Who did?
Really?
Did anyone
I
see
wanna
West
see
Side
West
Story
Side
remake?
Story.
I don't think so.
I want to see it. I just don't want to pay money for it.
Yeah,
So-
same. Yeah.
Wait till it streams.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a reason. There's a reason why they made West Side Story first. Back in the '60s, it was so that Steven Spielberg wouldn't have to do it later.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yep.
Any fun kid interactions, Bruce, when you're in the suit?
Yeah, this time especially, you, as Kelly and Spencer probably have seen, you get all kind of questions, but one kid just didn't want to leave. He was probably about 5 years old. And he just kept saying, I want that costume. I want that costume. And I said, well, right now you're not going to fit into it, but maybe mom or dad will get it to you when you're a little taller. But I want that costume.
That's fun.
You know, that brings up a good point though, Bruce, because you talk about dressing up and everything, and when you dress up, you get talked to by other people trying to get your attention. Spencer, if the whole college thing doesn't work out, right? You can go to New York and charge people.
Yeah, that's true.
It doesn't pay the money you think it does.
That's what JR wants.
You can photobomb people in the back and then get mad when they don't pay you, Spencer. Maybe start a fight. Maybe knock a guy out.
Hold on. I'm just going to say, as a cosplayer, stay in school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don't the afternoon special with Kelly. Yeah. So, to go over real quick, here are the final grades that we did 3 hours ago.
Brad.
This is like the 8th time we've gone over this.
Yeah.
A+, out of Ashley,
Brad.
B+ out of Kelly, JR, A-.
Brad.
What?
You skipped me.
You did.
Yeah.
Did I
skipped
really?
Ashley, yes.
I can't do this many cams at once. I'm so sorry.
I
Ashley,
was waiting
final,
my turn.
funny theater moments. I apologize.
Well, I was going to say, I didn't really have anything happen in the theater. I mean, we had a very active theater. Everyone was cheering and clapping, and it was really fun. But, everyone talking about kids and stuff. That day, yesterday, Carol started walking. So, she's taking her first steps.
That's cool and terrifying because now you have to go around and figure out what they can get into now and restrict access.
Like that
You got to
for the
be
past
eye
6
level.
months.
Do you have those childproof lock stuff? I remember putting that around the house.
We need to get we need to lock the cabinets, but we have some. We need some for the doors to Jack's office because whenever he's in a meeting, she crawls up to the door and barges in.
Yeah.
I like the little pictures you had on Facebook with her in that little cute hat.
I did too.
Those were cute.
Hornacek says George wants Spencer to go to Times Square and cosplay and get in a fight, so JR will have to talk about it on future Spider News episodes.
Can you imagine if JR had to do a segment on his own kid on Spider Crime?
I love that. Yeah.
This time on Spider History.
Yeah.
My boy got arrested.
My kid's doing hard time.
Okay, final grade. George gives it an A++++. Ashley gives it an A++. Kelly gives it a B+. JR gives it an A-. Spencer gives it an A-. Mike gave it an A-. Bruce gave it an A. Brad gave it an A-. Tyler gave it an A-. I think we like this movie.
Oh, very much so.
I want to thank Spencer for challenging George to go see a movie that he liked. I did not see that coming.
Literally, if it hadn't been for you, Spencer, and we hadn't made that deal, and I wouldn't have bought a ticket to go see it. Because here's the thing. I mean, 2 weeks ago, even when we were talking, actually not even that long. I think shorter than that.
Episode. The Christmas episode, we joked about the fact that you got the war I don't feel so good T-shirt.
And even the in our little Facebook group discussion thing, right?
Yeah.
I even lamented the fact that I didn't get a ticket to a place where I could get drunk, so I wouldn't have to suffer through this film. And this winds up. I was blown away. I walked in expecting this thing to suck, and at the end of it,
it's now your favorite Spider-Man movie.
Yes,
and I appreciate that we have been after George to see Spider-Verse. He isn't budging. Spencer throws down a challenge. George is like, okay.
Well, now see, here's the thing. I mean, Spencer doesn't even really know me all that much, but JR understands why. I announced this kid's birth to the world. I did. And by world, I mean on our the old Hero Realm website that JR and I both worked on. So I feel like I've heralded his glory into the into our universe. Blowing the trumpet and everything. And so there's I like the kid. I like to see how far he's come.
Thank you, Spencer. George surprised the hell out of me tonight, says Mr. Comics. Michael Reed wants to know, George, will you see the next Spider-Man movie?
It's gonna depend on whether or not it looks like Marvel had more to do with it, or if it's more like Amy Pascal, glug glug, swerve swerve.
The next Spider-Man movie is Spider-Verse 2, by the way.
How crazy is
Across
that?
the
That we're more eager, that you're more eager to see more of a Sony Spider-Man movie
listen,
as opposed to an MC movie. I mean,
man,
Spider-Man
Marvel
movie.
has so many peaks and valleys. It's like,
Yeah.
everything's great. What a time to be alive. Oh my God, it's Shang-Chi. What's happening?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
look,
like
we-
Shang-Chi.
Look,
Yeah.
we've got some
It was
Disney.
Eternals.
We got some
It's
Disney
Eternals
Plus
was
stuff.
yeah.
We got
See,
some
I
Disney
liked
Plus
Eternals
stuff
too.
going on. Oh,
Yeah.
good God Almighty, what's happening here? No,
It's
it's
Finn Jones.
it's
That's
Netflix
the whole part of the writing. That's
Iron
the part of
Fist.
the
You know,
fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
so there's
Mike-
there's peaks and valleys.
Mhm.
And and right now, dude, we are in a peak. We've been in a peak since Kingpin episode 5.
Mike
Mhm.
Murdoch wants to know,
Right.
what point, George, did you realize you were having a good time?
By the time Andrew walked in,
Oh,
as soon as Andrew walked in and took off his mask, and the entire theater went nuts.
Yep.
I mean, just lost their collective
Yeah.
dookie.
Dookie.
At that point, yeah, I was like, dude,
Yeah.
this is something special. And then when Toby showed up, and I was like, I don't even care anymore. I'm here. You have me.
Yeah.
I'm here for
You have
it.
me. Just, I have been betrayed by these feels. Take them from me. I don't need
That's
them.
funny.
Yeah.
Okay, final thoughts. Mike, final thoughts.
First of all, yeah, I mean, I think this is a great film. People should go see it and celebrate. Support your local theaters and everything like that, because this is one of those things where this is probably, I mean, people were excited about with Marvel, with the Avengers Endgame. This is kind of on that kind of level. I don't think it's one of those experiences. Better though. Yeah. And it probably was going to be one of those things where, it's going to be a while when we see something like this again.
I mean, it's no Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Kelly, final thoughts.
It's a fun time and it's a fun movie, and I think especially with the last 2 years we've had,
Uh-huh.
why not have some fun and enjoy yourself and go to the movies?
Yep.
It's
No
great.
doubt.
Like go see it.
Ashley, final thoughts.
All I can think of now is seeing it again, and in the meantime, going back and rewatching all of the Spider-Man movies. And I hope at some point, after this comes out on Blu-ray and releases for home video, that they have a collection, like a Bluray 4K whatever collection of all the Spider-Man movies.
Totally.
And I would like $200, $300. I'm buying it. I'm buying it.
I want an extended edition of this with deleted scenes so bad.
Oh, me too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh my
too.
God.
More Norman. JR, final thoughts.
Well, I guess considering that, I guess because we owe it to Spencer that George got to see this movie, I suppose that I can only say,
Nice. George, final thoughts.
I've talked enough. Go see this movie. Don't get spoiled on it.
That's
well,
impossible.
Well,
that
it's
is-
too
that
late
is
now.
impossible.
It's too late now. Yeah. But at this point, everybody.
But
yeah.
Go see this, and then I say go see this. I shouldn't show for the. I don't really need to show for the movie. The movie. Last I checked, it's got the second biggest opening now of all time.
It's
like, yeah, it's right
253 million this weekend in U.S. alone.
Yep.
God Almighty!
That's a
Yeah,
lot
it's
of money.
right behind it. Both the two Avengers films,
During a
yeah.
pandemic,
Yep.
Can you imagine if it wasn't a pandemic?
full theater, and I looked around. There weren't that many masks. It's like Texas just doesn't care. Spider-Man's on. Shut up.
No doubt. Even the 3 Spider-Men weren't wearing a mask that much.
I think on behalf of
Bruce,
George, too,
final
he would like
thoughts.
everyone
sir.
to know to lift their leg high enough when they're going upstairs.
Oh yeah, that's a good advice
Yes,
too.
yeah.
Listen, PSA, that's a real thing, kids. All right, I finally hit the age where I realize my leg is not clearing stuff. That's why old people fall and die. End of PSA.
It's a
And
PSA. Bruce, final thoughts.
Like I said before, I don't think we'll see an event like this as far as a movie goes, because it's wrapped up 20 years and basically 3 generations of actors and so forth. But the other cool thing is all the major characters being here in Steve Ditko's hometown of Johnstown. They're all part of his creations, and even Doctor Strange. So to see all those Ditko characters on the screen all in the same movie was cool.
No doubt. Tyler, final thoughts about Venom being in it for 3 seconds.
That's all we needed. Goodbye, Hardy. But I just want to say, as someone like I did not like MCU Spider-Man, and I didn't go into this with high hopes. I thought it would just be like nostalgia bait the movie, but then I watched it, and all the characters were used meaningfully, and it surprised the hell out of me, and I'm so happy it did. This movie felt like an apology for the other MCU movies.
It did. It very much did.
The second chance theme.
The second chance. Yeah, exactly.
Kind of like a mea culpa. Kind of like somebody over at Sony or Sony Marvel or whatever realized, you know what? Maybe we need to dial back the Iron Man crap a bit.
That last scene has just filled me with pure joy.
Yeah, same.
And the last word of the night goes to the Crawlspace, the next generation. Spencer, you get the final word.
I mean, it's just a great time to be a Spider-Man fan right now, especially because of this movie. I mean, this movie basically gave George a big character development. His character arc is now finished.
Whoa! Hey, whoa.
Now you can go die in the theater, George.
Jesus, kid! Wow! George's role in the story is over.
Yeah, go die.
Might as
in the
well.
theater,
Yeah. I'm going off to the negative zone or something. Thanks, Spencer.
Yeah, that's a great final thought.
I'm getting exiled to the Savage Land where they stick all the old people that can't raise their legs.
So
What's wrong with you?
Are you saying that George is the Tony Stark of this podcast now? Is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah. No, yeah.
What an insult.
He had a
this is like
long
two
journey
generations
that's
of Fettinger
spanned so many
insulting
years,
Texas.
and has now come
So
to an
many
end.
years. Listen to Fettinger. Get your kid in order.
He's carrying
right.
the torch. My day is done too. You know, I mean, it's,
He's dissolving back to his universe.
They're gonna send JR and I off to the glue factory. Thanks. Jeez.
On that lovely note,
I'm off to the knackers.
on that lovely note, thank you all for watching 3.5 hours nearly of a review show. We'll do it again next year for Into the Spider-Verse 2. George, you're welcome. You can come in. Here we go. Credits.